What's up, babies? I'm Boy. This is my channel. I've got a cat with me. Oh, now she's gonna hide her tail. I've got my editor-in-chief with me. the ever gorgeous Leela. There she is. Say hi. I know, what a cute little kitty. Best editor in the business. What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a good day. I hope we're starting our weeks off right, all across the board. I've been tired today myself. It's been one of those mornings where I just woke up tired. I actually ended up even skipping my my workout this morning so I could just get a little extra sleep. Just one of those mornings. One of those days. Had a busy weekend. Had family in town visiting, and still managed to, even on top of that, get some really intense workouts in just as a way, because I don't know about everyone else, and I don't mean this as any sort of indicator about whether I do or don't appreciate my family, because I love my family. I'm very fortunate to have a very good family. That said, I'm not the kind of person who naturally enjoys or thrives on hosting. So when I have people coming to visit, it is taxing on me, both, well, primarily emotionally, which then kind of ends up being physically. So I do my best to insist upon still getting my workouts in, because that's one of the best stress relief systems that I have. So naturally, when people are visiting, I tend to actually work out a bit harder. And so you have the taxing nature of people coming to stay with me, added to the taxing nature of working out extra hard, and bada bing, bada boom, you end up with a Monday morning Scott here who is sleepy and needs extra recuperation after all. But the good news is I did get the chance to sleep in a little bit today. Luckily, I had today off of work, which was a big part of why I was willing to host this weekend, because I knew I would have today to just sort of unwind and, you know, do all the usual stuff that I don't get to do when people are around, like grocery shop to make sure I have food for the week. But we got through it all. We got through it, and it was a good time. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I hated it. Not like I was upset the whole time. I'm just a creature of routine. I'm a creature who thrives on quiet, planned, controlled routine. And I know that's not necessarily the most common way people live their lives these days. But for me, that's the pinnacle right there. And that is not how this weekend went. So I had a wonderful time, but it was exhausting. And all of that adds up to an Enviro boy here who is very excited to have a little bit of time to just kind of sit here and be quietly creative. And so hopefully everyone who stops by can enjoy that same environment with me, and we can all just kind of creatively work on stuff, whether you sit here and watch me, to for the sake of participation and share ideas with me, or if you just like having me on in the background while you work on other stuff so it feels like we're working on stuff together. Hey, you know what? I love doing that. That's the primary use I have for streams and YouTube videos and stuff like that, is to just have someone in the background hanging out with me. And that's, well, by golly, that's what we're going to do today. So, why don't we go ahead and do it? I apologize if I still sound a little phlegmy. I had a cold like 2 weeks ago. And just given the time of year, the excessive amount of pollen in the air has really just made it so that getting rid of that last bit of phlegm has been a nice slow process. So cheers to staying hydrated. And I apologize if I seem a little snuffly while we're going, but let's go ahead and usually have a stream on when you're working and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. That's the big beauty of it for me too, is it's like, it's a way to like sort of have company, so to speak, but without having to like pay attention. Exactly. Makes things, it makes it just feel like you're sitting there. Like, it reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the days of college when I would be in the study room and there would be like 3 or 4 of us all working on our own stuff, all studying our own individual things, and just like with the occasional, built-in 5-minute break of kind of looking up from whatever is making you bleary-eyed on the computer screen or whatever, to sit there and chit-chat about whatever random things other people are working on and stuff. So I get it. I totally get it. And I am stoked to be here, providing that little bit of break, that little bit of companionship, whatever it means to you. I'm stoked that I get to be here doing it for you. What makes it fun for me. So why don't I go ahead and stop putting my, stop just talking about it, and let's actually do it. Let's get some stuff going. I love those transitions, man. I don't get tired of them. I don't get tired of those beautiful transitions. That's so great. Anyways, let's see here. What do I have open right now? I don't even know what I have open right now. Okay, this is what we were working on last time. You know what? We're going to warm up. We're going to warm up a little bit. Let's go, study buddy. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And also, I appreciate the high five. I know that sometimes people find high fives to be a little divisive, perhaps a little juvenile. I have never outgrown the high five, personally. So, high five to that. 100%. Sorry, kitty. I did not mean to startle you with my enthusiastic high five. My cat's with me. She's my editor. She's my friend. Let's show her off again. There she is. She's so cute. She's so cute with her one little eye. Okay. Anyway. Oh, shoot. Beans. I moved the camera. Now it's off center. Wait a second. Hold on. I can fix this. And I will fix this because it bothers me when it's off center. That way? Yeah, that way. Maybe one more that way. There we go. It looks crooked. Is it crooked? It looks crooked. Hold on. Oh, that didn't help. Maybe I'm just insane. I don't know. Maybe if I stop obsessing over it, it'll stop bothering me. It'll keep bothering me. That's the secret. It'll always bother me. Alright, so for the warm-ups, I'm going to have us continue the project that we always do for our warm-ups, which is just continuing to work on our rune enchantment system. For everything that I do these days is for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. It's not the only game that I play, but it's the one we're writing in right now. And it's sorely lacking in any sort of like in-depth rune system, which I find to just be absolutely just a shame. It's just a shame, because runes make items all kinds of wacky and fun. And everyone deserves to have their games be nice and wacky and fun. So, Let's see here. Let's go ahead and continue. The last one we did was stone skin. And so basically the gist of this process is, for anyone who's not aware, the gist of it is that we are going through each of the spells as they exist and creating a rune version of it so that you can create an item that would have said spell enchanted on it. And it's fun. My players love it. Ooh, we already finished up the 4th level ones. We're getting to the higher level ones for abjuration, which is fun. Yeah, we already did stone skin, although I noticed that I made it 2 words instead of 1, which is just ridiculous. I mean, come on now. So great, yeah, we don't have to do anything else for this one. We can just go ahead and... Come on, OneNote. Pull up, there you go. There you go, just clean that up a little bit. And now we need to do, we'll copy our template here. Paste another one there, and this is going to be level 5 imbibements. We're getting to the really fun, powerful spells at this point in time, which is where it starts getting really fun. When you think about a sword with like level 5 and higher spells on it or whatever. Oh, that's fun stuff right there. Hold on, I don't like this. One thing that I want to do. Go ahead and do that, and then get rid of it this way. There we go. Boom. All right, and so then we just got our little template here. Go ahead and copy that. Is that actually, you know, I'm gonna put a little bit more space there. There. Now we got a copy of our template there that we can just pull from. That way we don't need to worry about having to go back to our template page and copy. It's just right down there. Alrighty, let's see. So get out of here, 4th level. We don't need you anymore. Can't you see I don't watch you anymore? Alright, filter the spell. Sorry, I went a little Call of the Wild on that one. Oops. I'm gonna go check out the window there, kitty. Okay. I know, there's birds out there. I don't know that I'm a big fan of you standing right in front of the monitor and hitting the microphone with your tail, though. I feel like we need to either pick... Okay, you put your little butt down and sit down. That's acceptable. That's acceptable. Anti-life shell. Oh, this is gonna be fun. These are gonna be fun. You guys, I'm so excited about this. It's gonna be great. All right, anti-life shell. Let's see. Format. We're gonna go anti-life shell, and then we need to. Let's see. Okay, so we're just gonna do the way we've been doing it. We're going to copy our stuff as it's written, bring it over here, paste it in here, and then that way we can just kind of massage the language a little and change it as needed. Easier than like trying to copy it all starting from scratch. No, you don't want to drink that, honey. That's grape juice. Well, not grape juice. It's like grape drink. Like the Crystal Light grape flavored. So it's like a non-fizzy grape soda. I don't know. It's hard to describe it other than like grape drink. Oh, whatever. Anyway, it's like liquid form of grape candy. Like if you took a bunch of grape Smarties, crushed them all up, and just like dropped them in a bucket of water. Anyway, yeah, don't drink it, kitty. All right, anti-life shell. A shimmering barrier extends out from you. Okay, immediately we can say this from the item. Oops, I'm sorry. Now I'm the one bumping the microphone. That's just rude of me. From the item in a 10-foot radius and moves with the item, remaining centered on the item and hedging out creatures other than undead and constructs. The barrier lasts for the duration. A weird way to phrase it. I don't know that I like the way they phrase that in general. Barrier prevents an affected creature from passing or reaching through. An affected creature can cast spells or make attacks with ranged or reached weapons through the barrier. It's only a physical barrier. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not like I'm going to change it. That's what the spell is. If he moves so that an affected creature is forced to pass through the barrier, the spell ends. Okay, good. So we'll just say this too. If you move the item so that an affected creature is forced to pass through the barrier, the spell ends. Alright, that's pretty simple, actually. We don't need to do a whole lot of massaging for that one. You're basically, rather than just like you being the source of this bubble, You basically have a little item that you can hold that creates the bubble. Like it's like any given sci-fi shield barrier, right? Where it's like the shield like erupts from the thing, you know, your little force field or whatever. Pretty straightforward. We don't got to do a whole lot to this one. Type of item that oops, mouse is freaking out on me here. Oh, just close this just so we have a little bit more screen to work with here. Alright, so the type of item that it can imbibe, we can really do this on anything. Can be put on any item. Like some items it doesn't, like, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work to put them, you know, like, some items are all offensive, so it wouldn't make sense to put it on a shield, but it has to go, like, on a weapon. This thing can be really be put on anything. Hey, Howell, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Hopefully you are doing well as well. Glad to see you here. So yeah, I think it can be put on anything. I think that works well. Kitty, I'm gonna reach past. Well, I want a drink. I'm gonna reach past you. Okay, Kitty? I know. She always looks so offended whenever I bother her when she's like, because I've got the window right there, right off to that side. That was a weird way. I should have just pointed with that hand. That's less awkward. Right, there's a window right over there, and there's a bird feeder right by it. So she likes to just like sit there and watch. She does it on the desk, and she gets really mad when I disturb her because she's doing very important hunting thing. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Always fun when the neighborhood wakes you up with their car horns. You know it's gonna be a good day when that's how it starts. Sorry, that was your alarm. That's not pleasant. I totally understand that. Alright, how it's cast, this one's just basically, when the command word is spoken, and that, like, you just speak the command word and then it activates. It's pretty straightforward. I jumped out of bed so fast. Yeah, I get that. Oh, that's fun. I feel like that should be, if it's an emergency siren horn, I feel like that probably isn't allowed. That seems like the kind of thing that wouldn't be actually street legal, but hey, you know, oftentimes that doesn't stop people, so. Alright, so let's see, the range for this one, it's a 10-foot radius. I'm assuming if it's off 10 foot, I'm assuming it's a 10-foot radius. It's almost always a radius rather than a diameter. So 10-foot radius, radium, 10-foot radium. It's nuclear, radioactive. All right. Let's see here. Anything else that's important? Duration 1 hour. That's good. We can add that in there. I don't think there's anything else that's really relevant. And we'll say lasts for 1 hour. Bada bing, bada boom. And then we don't need to worry about these things. No saves or anything like that. Easy there. I don't think we have any additional notes. I think that's perfectly fine. All right, so then we always like to do an example item for this. So anti-life shell. It's basically just a barrier that people can't pass through. And so I actually kind of like the idea of like the standard item here would be just some sort of like, I almost think of it as being like a home security item that people in the medieval times would have, right? Or like a personal security item that you'd like just have like a little stone in your pocket or whatever that you could activate and would stop people from like entering your personal space or whatever. And Slaver Squid is all like, what's cracking? This is the plot. That's I do like the pun there. I do like the pun, Valexian. Well done. Alright, let's see. So example item. Yeah, I think I want to just do anti-life. Let's call it the anti-life stone, which sounds so much more sinister than it is, right? Anti-life stone sounds like something that's like, yeah, touch the rock and it kills you. It's anti-life. It'll kill you. It'll kill you. It's like, nope, that's not it. That's not what we're working with here. All right, hold on. I gotta check something really quickly here. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Anyway, yeah. We'll say popular among wealthy or powerful individuals. A small stone that can be held in one's pocket and activated to create a small barrier of protection, oftentimes used while waiting for guards or backup to arrive to assist with the situation. So it's like it would be basically just like a little personal barrier that you can like quickly activate if you feel like you're in danger while you wait for your guards to handle the situation. Put an H before it. Is that a hentai pun that you got going on there? That's some Ring of the Grammarian level stuff going on right there. And and I'm gonna be perfectly honest, if we're gonna go ahead and take that approach with it, we're entering the territory of a very different stream that I don't think is allowed to be on Twitch. So alright, so let's see. I think that's good. Anti-life stone, popular among wealthy and powerful individuals. Let me just double check my sort of consistency guidelines to make sure I'm kind of sticking with what the level 5, because we've moved from level 4 on to level 5 now. It means things are going to be a bit more rare, a bit more powerful. Streaming on the hub later on. Yeah, that's my OnlyFans. And I haven't started it yet, but if people donate enough, I'm not opposed to it, but it's got to be a pretty chunk of change for me to debase myself to that degree. Again, I'm not opposed to doing it. I'm just, don't ever give away for free what you can get paid for. So, pay up. For real though? Invite her daddy. Oh God. I feel it's uncomfortable, but also it's brilliant, and I feel like I need to just like go claim it before anyone else takes it. It's all about finding. It's all romance, is what it would be. It would be all romance, and it would just be me recreating every romance novel scene where it takes place in a shady grove in the woods where no one can find us, and we can be free. And that's what it would be entirely. And it wouldn't be anything too blatant, right? If we're going the romance novel, it all has to be like really theater of the mind. So like it would like the worst, the dirtiest it would get would be me in one of them like Speedos or something like that. Boom. On a bare rug by a fire with a rose. Yeah, by a campfire though. By a campfire. It's all outdoors. And it wouldn't be a bare rug. It would be a bear that is magically tamed by the magic of love and romance, is what it would be. That would be at 100%. 100%. I would do it. Anyway, enchanted things. So level 5. Nationally famous. These items are often the property of regional champions, people who are known, for example, as heroes. Whipped cream hose or normal hose. I don't even need it to be dirty. If you can provide me a whipped cream hose, I am in, because that sounds delicious. All right, like we have sidestepped away from the dirty and just to the downright awesome. All right, I would absolutely have that. Oh yeah, my goodness. It just sounds like it would be a perpetual unlimited of like when you got the whipped cream can, right? And everyone does the thing that like makes your parents roll their eyes because they know they're not supposed to endorse it. But when you just do the direct jet stream, right? And it's either whipped cream or Cheese Whiz. It's one or the other. Anyways, so these are items that help them achieve status of top dogs within the region. Peasants may often see these heroes as their legendary items gifted to the world by the gods. In some cases, there may even be truth in that. These items must be a special order. The time and effort required to make them isn't worth it unless a return on investment is already guaranteed. That said, it is likely that multiple of these items exist in the world, just under different titles and levels of fame. Fair enough. Typically, these items will have a unique name tied to the region or the wielder in some way, even if the item isn't especially unique. Yeah, I can see that. I feel like we're kind of still within that range the way we described this item. Popular among wealthy or powerful individuals, right? So a particularly powerful individual might have one of these things, and like the people in town would know that, and being able to avoid being assassinated right off the bat would probably play a role in helping someone rise to fame. So I feel like this all fits. I feel like that fits. Yeah, I think it's good. But now we got to talk about what if this item becomes sentient, which is just always fun. I love coming up with sentient items. The concept of an item that has a mind of its own is just so fun to me. So it cause I don't know, maybe it's a narcissism thing because I'm the DM. So if it's sentient, that means I get to play a role in someone else's magical item, which is just fun. Discussing Fae. I mean, not explicitly, but I feel like Fae is always kind of implied to be part of the discussion when you're working with D&D. Not explicitly discussing anything Fae realm related, but I mean, there it is. Let's see here. So if it's a good item, so as always, good and evil doesn't necessarily mean does it help good guys, does it help bad guys. It's more so about because the item is always going to want to assist the owner. Right, it's like it's always going to want to assist the owner. It's just the good, evil, lawful, or chaotic kind of has to do with it has to do with how it goes about helping the owner. What's the item we're working on? We're working on an enchantment for anti-life shell. So if it's good, it's sort of like it'll try and do something a little extra for the owner. If it's evil, it'll try to do a little something extra bad for the enemies of the owner, right? So if it's good, my thought with this is, I'm thinking about the way this works. The barrier prevents an affected creature from passing or reaching through. An affected creature can cast spells or make attacks with ranged or ranged weapons through the barrier. Move the item so that an affected creature is forced to pass through the barrier. The spell ends. I'm almost thinking for evil, we could have it do something like it like if you move towards that, it will, it can use one final burst before becoming, force pass through the barrier, the spell ends. Before it ends, it can add, a little burst of energy to try and, knock down anyone you walk through, right? So you can kind of try and use it as, a stiff arm. I don't know what I'm thinking for evil. So, to phrase that, kind of, mechanically structure that so it's functional. That's always the tough part of it. And I'm thinking, trying to describe it. So, we'll try to push enemies out of the way if moved towards a being. So we'll say before the spell ends, when, how do they say it? So that an affected creature, so before the spell ends, when an affected creature is forced to pass through the barrier, it will offer a burst of energy, trying to push the creature back. Creature must make a strength save, and we'll say that's a DC 15. I always set it to 10 plus the spell level, so if it's a cantrip it would just be 10, and then a level 5 will be DC 15, right? Because we're just getting more powerful in the spells. So creature must make a strength save, DC 15, or else be, we'll say, knocked prone. And I think right there, that's good. I think that'll be good. All right, what do you got, Alexian? Let's see here. Or a piercing, as I was like, maybe there, it's warm and damp. Doesn't have to be equipped there. I'm not perfectly sure what angle you're going with, Alexian, but there's a lot of awkward insinuations going on there, so we're just gonna go ahead and move past that one, because like I say, we gotta keep in mind Twitch's terms of services there. Hey, Brubel, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Doesn't matter how long it's been. It's good to see you always. Good to see you. Good to see everyone always. So, okay, so that's if it's evil. If it's good, I need to do a little something extra for someone. Wondering if we can, other than undead and constructs, burial lasts for the duration. I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember. You'll have to remind me. You'll have to remind me. Nose piercing. That just sounds like the item that it would be. Let's see here. If sentient. So if it's good. So like if it wants to do something. Let's do something beneficial for its owner. That's the, like I say, that's the concept of it being good, right? Because like if it's good, it really wants to do something extra to help, but if it's evil, it kind of just wants to be a dick to the enemies, right? So trying to push them down is good. I'm kind of thinking if it's good, here's what my thought is: can detect a soul within a construct, and will in a construct. The barrier also impacts constructs, but still not undead because they don't have a soul. I don't know, kind of a loose fit there, but I actually kind of like that idea. We're just, they can do a little bit of extra, you know, it does a little extra to guard you from a few extra, you know, enemies and stuff. Entry and Faye, if I ever something saw on ventilator from COVID. It's pneumonia and respiratory failure. I feel like you, I do remember you mentioning something about that. I feel like I do remember that. Sounds interesting. It sounds very interesting. Morality is the inverse of the wearer. See, I don't like necessarily doing that kind of stuff, because I feel like, one, that gets hard to track, and good and evil are such generalized terms that I don't necessarily like, you know, focusing on what it means to be like morally good or morally evil. Like I say, it's more so just about, you know, does it try to help the owner or try to hurt the owner, or try to help the owner or hurt the enemy? You know, it's kind of the way I look at it more so, and it just kind of keys into what, you know, the player wants to do. So if it's lawful, I always like to have it be a bit narrower but a bit more powerful, and then chaotic is that it's a bit broader but a bit less powerful, is sort of the idea that I have for it. And so for lawful, I feel like that's actually pretty easy. You can kind of give it a 5-foot radius. Give it like a 5-foot radius. You can almost do something where it's like it will it will offer protection from like one spell or one arrow or something like that. Do it like that. Kind of like that idea. The barrier is only a 5-foot radius, but can also block one ranged attack or spell when targeted at whoever is within the barrier, right? So it can block one of those things. So I kind of like that. Try to go and see. Well, okay. What you're talking about, Valexian, is how I use cursed. Cursed is where it will kind of do something against the owner. I use sentience as sort of an opposite to cursed. If cursed is something that will damage the owner, then sentient is something that will help the owner. And again, an evil thing is something that will help the owner by doing extra dickish things to the enemy. Is the concept there. Because a cursed item, because if you have an evil item and a cursed item, you really just have a higher chance that the item will do damaging things to the owner. Whereas if you have a sentient item that always tries to help and a cursed item that always tries to hurt, you have a 50-50 chance, which I just think is a bit more fair to players trying to enchant an item. So now if it's chaotic, my thought is the barrier is a 20-foot radius, but only lasts for I'm gonna say for 10 minutes. So it's like it's much broader. It has a bigger range of impact, a bigger barrier of protection, but it's not quite as, it doesn't last as long. Kind of the idea that I have right there. And actually, I need to add one more clarification. When the one attack is blocked, all other attacks will make it through as normal. Normal. Damn it, I did it again. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I think that works. And we can go ahead and do it there. As possible, so we can go back to sleep. Yeah, that's true neutral right there is what it is. Got the true neutral item going on there. Alright, so if it's cursed. So now if it's cursed, there's always an extra powerful benefit, but then there's some sort of problematic side effect. And so my thought is here is so the extra powerful benefit will be can stop all creatures, including constructs and undead, from passing through the barrier. And then the problematic side effect that I have here is, or that I want to do is, cannot be dispelled early, thereby trapping all creatures inside the barrier within it. So, and that's the type of thing. So what I always try to do also with these negatives, these drawbacks, is to have it be so that it's a drawback that seems that may in some circumstances seem like it's not a big deal, right? So that the players are still inclined to use it. I want them to still use the item. Like it defeats it kind of defeats the idea of a cursed item if they can just choose to not use it and it's whatever, right? And so it's like I like to try and entice them to use it, and then it might end up being, you know, an Icarus situation where they flew too close to the sun and now they're in real trouble, right? So it's like this one cannot be dispelled early, thereby trapping all creatures inside the barrier within it. Seems like not a big deal, especially if you're the only one inside of it and you just hold the item and you go and the barrier moves with you. But if you can't dispel it early, suddenly that makes it really, really difficult to be able to share items or converse with people. You know, and like I can see that being in a situation. Suppose something happens that you are knocked unconscious, no one can get through the barrier because you can't dispel it early. It's just there, and now you're really in trouble, right? And so it's like that's kind of the idea that I have going on there. Consumes 1 HP every 10 minutes active. I mean, you could do that, but if it only lasts for an hour, that's only 6 HP, and so I feel like that's not particularly dangerous. I'm not opposed to the idea of consuming HP to use, and in fact I'll use that for a lot of curses, but you got to make it a bit more tangible than 1 for every 10 minutes, especially if it only lasts an hour, because even a level 1 can withstand that, even if they're not super stoked about it. But yeah, I think I don't know, I like this one because with the cursed one, it's not going to change the fact that ranged and spells can still get through. So it's like you have that up there as the barrier, so melees can't get in there, right? Someone who's trying to melee you can't get in. But if for some reason you are knocked unconscious, the barrier can't be dispelled. And so then you're in real trouble right there. So yeah, per 1 minute would work. But I think I'm gonna stick with this idea where you just can't dispel it early. Because like I say, I feel like because the other thing that's an issue with health drain is once they use it once, well then they're just not going to use it, right? They're just not going to use it if it's going to bring them close to getting knocked unconscious on its own every time they use it, right? They'll just have like, oh yeah, I've got this thing, I can't get rid of it until I find a wizard that I can pay some money and they'll detach it from me. So it's like you gotta strike that balance. You gotta strike that balance. And so usually if I'm gonna do health drain too, I'll do something along the lines of you have to like it costs 3d8 of health to activate it or something like that. You know, it's usually the better way to do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a bad idea, but I like the idea of it not being able to be dispelled early. Warning alarm that attracts all the bad guys in the area. Yeah, that would be that would actually be kind of an interesting one. I'm not opposed to that either. I like that. These are good ideas that I'm gonna pocket for other items because we've got an entire spell book of items, and these are all good ideas. But I like this one. I like this one where it can protect you, but then it can also stop you from being saved if circumstances are right. You know, so it's like this is the type of thing where I could see someone being like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I just got this barrier for a while, and it'll be fine. We can just sit and wait." But then if someone, you know, if you get shot with an arrow and then you're unconscious and the item's just sitting there and it can't be dispelled, well, it's like I guess you're gonna bleed out in there. So I think I like that. So what it takes to remove must be removed magically if the owner tries to abandon the item. It will self-cast, trapping the owner in the barrier with the item. So it's like if you try to leave it behind, it'll just self-cast, and suddenly you're stuck inside the barrier there with the item. Also blocks light, so it's just like a big giant dark dome. Big giant dark dome. You're almost making gag items here at this point in time, like prank items, which I'm not also I'm not opposed to. Also not opposed to. But no, I like this one as it is. I think this one's good as it is. I think this is a good one. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I like this cursed one because it's the implications of the negatives of the barrier not being able to be dispelled early are so subtle. Right? Like, it seems like the kind of thing that people might not think about at all until suddenly they're stuck with them. Right? Like, I could see someone being like, oh, yeah, no, it just stays active. And they use it 10 times, and it's not a big deal until one of these times a spell hits them while the thing's active, and they're stuck unconscious, slowly dying, you know, and there's 50 minutes left on it, and it can't be dispelled, and no one can get through because the barrier is there. Right? So I think there's some really interesting implications there that aren't obvious right away. So I like this one as it is. I think Anti-Life Shell is good as it is. So awesome, cool. All right, I'm gonna take just a quick like 30-second break. I need to run to the bathroom, and when I come back, we will. I think we might try and do one more. We might try and do one more and warm up a little bit more, and then we'll get on to the working on our campaign. So sit tight. I will be right back. I promise it won't take long. I appreciate you guys' patience. Alrighty. I appreciate your patience. My bladder appreciates your patience. This is a much better situation. You know how it goes. Sometimes nature calls, you just gotta answer the door. Otherwise, Mother Nature's gonna go ahead and bust down the door, and that's just gonna be awkward for everyone. So you can't accept its ball bearings. So Claymore is what you're saying, and that sounds tremendously more dangerous than a simple prank. Although I do like where your head's at. All right, let's see here. Let's do one more. Let's see if we can't quickly do one more, and then we'll spend some time working on our campaign. Let's see here. Going to copy that, and let's copy and let's paste that up there, and then let's see what spell's next on the docket. We just did anti-life shell, banishing smite. That's a very aggressive sounding spell title. Copy our stuff there. Back to our notebook. Banishing. Oops. Smite. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and fix that stuff there. Let's get rid of this extra little gobbledygook there, because I'm a horrible person who doesn't cite his sources. We all know where it came from. This is all stuff that's at the D&D books. This is all canon stuff that I'm making not canon, because it's my homebrew world and I can do what I want with it. That's the beauty of being DM. I can power trip all day long, and that's my God-given right as a dungeon master. It's my God-given right to be a narcissistic power tripping son of a gun by having declared myself DM. So, shut up. Can you imagine? Alright, anyway. Banishing Smite. The next time you hit a creature with a weapon attack before the spell ends, your weapon crackles with force, and the attack deals an extra 5d10 force damage to the target. Oh yeah, this is gonna be sweet. Additionally, if this attack reduces the target to 50 hit points or fewer, you banish it. If the target is native to a different plane of existence than the one you're on, the target disappears, returning to its home plane. If the target is native to the plane you're on, the creature vanishes into a harmless demiplane. While there, the target is incapacitated. It remains there until the spell ends, at which point the target reappears in the space it left or in the nearest unoccupied space, if that space is occupied. This is perfect. Oh, this is gonna be this is so cool. This is such a cool one to be able to put on a weapon. So yeah, this goes on any weapon. Any weapon. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is gonna be sweet. I'm already super into this. All right, let's just look at our basic mechanics here for this. Cast power word is spoken. We'll say how it's cast. I need to start like saving that so I understand what the heck I'm talking about. How it's cast. The power or the command word is spoken. Command, there it is. The command word is spoken, and the spell takes effect on the next creature hit. Boom. Okay. Range. So this one's kind of tricky because the range, the area, it says self. We're gonna say the range on the enchant or on the imbued item. I use it, I'm very specific about using the word imbue or imbibe, because enchantment is a school of magic, and I don't want things to get confusing. Because most people, when they think of enchanted, they think of an item that has magic attached to it. But enchantment as a school of magic doesn't necessarily always mean that. And since we're creating other things to be like enchantments and stuff like that, it gets kind of confusing. So I've been using the word imbibed. You know, something is imbued with the spell or what have you. Sort of how I've taken to defining these things. But yeah, so on the imbued item, duration, 1 minute. Perfect. 1 mute is 10 rounds. That's perfect. It doesn't really have a save, does it? Let me just double check here. Attack save, yep, nope. And then damage type, it calls it force damage. But we'll go ahead and do that, but we will do our damage, and we'll say damage type for that, and we'll do force, just so that way it's clarified there. So now the example item, okay. I'm not gonna do it because it's a little too meta and jokish. But the obvious item here is to create the legendary banhammer. I mean, that's the obvious one to make here. I'm not gonna do it because I would prefer this to be like a serious item that could exist in my world. And banhammer, well, I guess I really shouldn't get on my high horse about calling the banhammer a little too goofy and a little too jokish for the sake of my world, because in my world, it is 100% canon that Smokey the Bear is there, and there's a chance that he will show up and counteract any fire magic that you may use at any given time. So I can't really say, but my thought here is that like there could be a champion who has like a hammer of banishment. We'll do that. We'll do the hammer of banishment. Hammer of banishment. So that way it has a real title, but then it can easily be nicknamed the Banhammer. So the hammer of banishment. And so my thought here is the hammer of banishment is one of a series, here we go, a series of weapons, quote, of banishment, that were created, created for a collective of champions, they were commissioned, oh, there's an extra M in there, isn't there? There it is, yep, okay, they were commissioned, by this collective who were embarking upon a, we'll say upon a holy crusade, and were looking for in which they may banish otherworldly. Wow, I really did not get that spelling of that one right there. Worldly, otherworldly creatures, ways in which they may banish otherworldly creatures from the mortal realm. Some of the items have been lost to time, while others remain active to this day. Like, some of them are missing and some of them are present for those. The hammer presently resides in well, okay, this will be kind of fun, in a long forgotten cave beside the skeleton of its former owner, waiting to be discovered and wielded again. Boom, there we go. So now we got like a little bit of built-in lore there, a built-in Easter egg that we can use later on if we want to for players. I like it. I like it a lot. We don't need any more additional notes, I don't think, for this one. I think that one's good. So now if it's sentient, this is going to be really fun. So if it's good, can hew into creatures that are weak and susceptible to banishment. Will tell the wielder when a particularly powerful enemy is below the 50 HP threshold for banishment. So it's like it'll help the owner of the item by saying like, hey, see that big giant demon dude over there? Yeah, he's looking pretty rough. I think if you go hit him, we might be able to banish this guy, right? Like, kind of gives you that heads up, because it's just like it's a particularly skilled warrior that can tell how damaged or injured a creature is. Sort of the idea. So now if it's evil, so for this one, so for it being evil, it has to do something particularly nasty to the enemy. And so what my thought here is, rather than banishing a target to its home plane or the harmless demi-plane, it will banish the target to a random plane, perhaps resulting in extra danger or injury to the creature. We'll say, and as an example, like if a fire elemental is sent to the water plane. Kind of my thought. Although I'm wondering if rather than, because the only thing is about doing random that I would actually have to create a table for it and actually randomly do it. Maybe I'll just say it banishes it. Banish target to a contradictory plane, perhaps resulting in extra danger or injury. If an elemental is sent to the water plane, or a demon is sent to Mount Celestia, is sort of my thought there. Because like it might not even tangibly result in anything, but it would be kind of funny for it to be a complete and utter troll of an item. That's just like, it's like talking about, it's like, oh yeah, that one lawful creature that came from the clockwork plane. Yeah, I sent him off to the chaos one. He's gonna be losing his damn mind right now, right? So it's like, even if it doesn't actually functionally do anything, it's still kind of amusing. So if it's lawful, as always, a narrower range, but even more powerful. So what my thought is, if the target is below 20 HP, it is banished to another, we'll just say it is banished. Let's see, the target, it remains there until the spell ends in the last 1 minute. So we'll say, actually, you know what, I'm gonna get this. Target is below 10 HP. It is banished for good. So it can't come back. So it's like, it's a much narrower range, right? For that, it has to be right in that sweet spot of only 10 HP. Man, if I'm gonna banish it for good, forget it. I'm even gonna make it 5 HP. Like, it has to be perfect. If the thing is near dead. No, we should say, well, see, now here's where it gets tricky though. Because it also does that 5d10 force damage. And so if we narrow it, then it'll just kill it. No, you know what? I like that, though. I actually like that. If the target... wait, hold on. How does it say? If the attack reduces the target to 50 hit points. Okay, so if the target is reduced to below 10 HP, it is banished for good. So that way it's like you basically get the kill even if you get it below, even if you don't actually kill it, you get it to only below 10 HP. Is kind of what I like about that one. I think that works. I'm willing to do that one. I don't think that's too much. Because if you get a creature down to 10 HP and you guys are leveled to the point that you have a spell that can do an extra 5d10 force damage, it's a chip shot away anyway, right? It's a gimme to kill it anyway. So it's like you'd basically just get it out of there a turn, someone's turn early. So I think that's good. I'm gonna keep it like that. So now chaotic. Okay. So my first thought about chaotic is make it so that the creature is like the creature comes back sooner than a minute, so it's like maybe in 30 seconds. It's only gone for half the time, but it reappears in like a different spot that's maybe more dangerous. It's kind of what my first thought is, but I think the problem with that is if you're just in a standard, it kind of means that I have to be willing to provide a dangerous arena for every battle that might get used. That's a bit much to have to keep track of. I guess I don't know that I'm convinced that I like that one. But it's an option. Broaden the focus. The other thought is weapon attack. Your weapon crackles with force. It deals an extra 5d10 force damage to the target. So my thought is, the crackling energy, from the weapon, splashes out from the initial target. The weapon does an additional, we're gonna say 2d10 rather than 5d10. Let's say does only 2d10 additional force damage, but the damage is applied to all enemies adjacent. Hold on. Adjacent? Is that it? I don't remember how to spell adjacent. Hold on, I'm gonna figure this out. Oh, fine. We are gonna figure it out. Adjacent. There it is. Ha. Who's adjacent, and why does it have to be next to him? All right. Is applied to all enemies adjacent to the target. We'll say, just to make sure it's clear, only the initial target may be banished if reduced to below 50 HP. So it can't banish anyone nearby. So it does a little less extra damage, but it'll do that damage to everyone around. So just kind of like that splash force damage there. And I think that works. Because it changes, because it can still be just as powerful, perhaps even more powerful when you think about, if we think about the power as just being the number of HP damage, like HP, or the hit points reduced, right? The maximum is now only 20 per target rather than 50 per target. But when you think about like all enemies adjacent, if you do that right, in theory, you could have 7 adjacent enemies, right? Because you would just need to be yourself hitting the one guy, and then if you have all kinds of enemies surrounding there, in theory you could do that. So in theory you could have up to 20 times 7, 140 HP done. So I think it in theory could be much better. Now practically, is that ever going to happen? Probably not, but, you know, it just kind of emphasizes the theory a little bit. And also by only doing up to 20 additional damage, it'll be a little harder to get something to the below 50 HP if it's used against like a boss or something like that. So I think that works. I think that's fine. I think that'll be balanced enough. Considering we're creating an entirely different rule system, basically, for the sake of adding chaos and fun, bizarro stuff for our players to enjoy, I feel like we can kind of get it. Whoops, we can kind of I goofed it. There we go. Get away with playing a little fast and loose with balancing. Because for me, I have two reasons that I'm okay with that. One, I'm just playing the game with my friends, so if things are a little unbalanced, but it like satisfies the rule of cool, great. I'm fine with that. And the other reason is because as a DM, oh, do I love chaos. Oh, it's so much more fun when there's all kinds of chaos and crazy things happening. I don't care if it makes it unbalanced. If there's like, this person's possessed and attacking their friends, and this person has like 17 area effect spells going on that everyone has to remember, and this guy's got multi-attack and he's attacking 5 different guys that are there. Meanwhile, this guy's swooping in, flying, and like just the more chaos that's happening on the battlefield, the more I love it. I revel in that, and this seems like it will really make it easy to add a lot of extra chaos. So, okay, so cursed, extra powerful benefit. So here's what my immediate thought is here. If cursed, so my thought is that it can do even more damage. Does an additional I'm trying to think about it. So what my thought is, here's what my thought is. I'll just go ahead and say it up front. My thought is the benefit is that it does even more of that extra force damage. But then the drawback is if the target is banished, you holding that item, you're banished with it. So that you are now in a separate plane, basically one-on-one dueling this creature until the spell ends. Is kind of what my thought is there. So it's like, it does extra damage, but it follows whatever it banishes. And I actually really like this idea. The trick is to figure out exactly how much additional damage. The other thing that's tricky about it too, it might be better to just say has the chance to cause the owner to be banished with it. Because they might because they might just sort of intentionally not use it. No, you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I can see someone being willing to make that risk for the sake of doing that extra damage, right? Because like if we make it so that it does 8d10 up to 80 damage, right? And they're thinking like, oh, well, this thing only has, this thing has 58 health left. Oh man, we could kill this thing in one shot. But then there's still that wide range where it could be banished there if the rolls are bad. I'm going to write it down, but I don't know if that I'm 100% convinced. We'll write it down and we'll keep thinking about it. We'll say it does an additional 8d10 force damage when used. Problematic side effect will be if the target creature is banished, the wielder of the weapon is banished with them. Yeah, and we can actually just leave it like that because then it'll default to everything else being there. So it's like until the spell ends, right? Yeah, I like that. I think that works. It's a very, very powerful item, perhaps even overpowered, being able to do that much additional force damage. But the concept of someone being, like, the concept, like, suppose you use it on a dragon, right? And you think to yourself, like, oh, this dragon is close. This dragon only has, say, so suppose you're going into it and the dragon only has, 44 health left or whatever, right? You're thinking like, oh man, there's like a 50-50 shot that if I hit this thing with the banishment that I could kill it right now. But suppose you roll garbage and you only roll, 21 hit points of damage. Suddenly you've used that thing because it's only once per day. Oh, I need to specify that here. We need to say once per day. And that goes for this one up here too. Once per day when the command word. Yeah, because these are all baseline once per day. So it's like you only do 20 to something that has 40 health left, but because you've reduced it, it's below that 50, it gets banished, and suddenly you're banished with, like, you're on your own against a big massive dragon, and your most heavy-hitting attack is suddenly gone, right? So that's the risk you run by still using it, and I think that actually works really well. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. Must be removed magically. The owner tries to leave the item. It will banish the owner. And actually we can just do that. It'll just banish you, and when you come back, if you try to do it again, it'll just banish you again. Like, it's able to do that. It's a cursed item. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think that works. I really like this idea. I really do like the idea of the banhammer being a canon thing in my game too. Now that I think about it, that amuses me and I like it. I think it's great. Awesome. Yeah, I think we got a couple good items here. Particularly, I like the Banishing Smite one better of the two that we made. Anti-Life Shell is interesting, but it feels a little bland. Meanwhile, this, like, having a sword that crackles with energy that could potentially banish a creature when you hit with it. Oh, I think that's cool. I think that's a cool item. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm quite pleased with it. Oh, excuse my yawns. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we got a bit of a warm-up going here. We got our creative brain working, flowing. It's going good. So I think it's time for us to go ahead and work on our campaign that we've been working on here. And so, okay, yeah. I remember where we were. We're working on our temple. Let me go ahead and pull up our maps here. Go ahead and pull up our maps that we're using. Need Wonder Draft open. Let's open up. We want the world map. We want our region map. And we want our city map here. So we got those all open. And then we can go ahead and close this basic one here. Beautiful. Okay. So here we got those maps, and then there's one other map that we need to get going here. Which is the actual dungeon map that we're working with right now. Open that one. It'll be, I think it's Minadala Part 2. I really got to relabel those to actually, like, describe what part we're doing. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, yeah. We had finished decorating that. Oh, excuse me. I apologize. Oh, man, all the yawns. Man, I thought I handled my sleepiness by sleeping in a little extra today, but apparently not. Apparently I'm just doomed to be tired all day long. All right, so we're working on our campaign, and just to kind of catch everyone up in case there's anyone who's missed it or has forgotten what we've been working on here, we have we're working on a homebrew campaign. This takes place in my homebrew world, which is the world of Zeoria, which is what we see right here. It's a post-apocalyptic world. There was an event called the Unhinging, in which if we were to imagine all of the realms, the planes of existence, right, being different layers of different density liquids in a jar, right, you know, like old school elementary science experiment where like different food colorings would have different densities, so they would create layers and all that kind of stuff, right? It's like you got one of them jars there. The unhinging is like if someone shook that jar up, so that now suddenly everything's excuse me, displaced and out of where it needs to be within the world. I mean, there were a lot of displaced creatures that kind of were forced to go from one realm to another. All kinds of tears in reality exist. From these tears, a lot of like magical radiation of sorts is kind of plaguing the world, and that's kind of the gist of the world that we're in. You know, when that happened, most of the world became uninhabitable. Those parts are known as the wilds, and the only places that are really reliably habitable are these handful of main cities that exist, where like there was enough manpower and enough fortifications in place to protect the people. Everywhere else, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to go down a shot of caffeine. Holy crap. But basically, the only people who survived were those who were already in the cities or lived close enough in a village that they could make it to the cities. And that was a couple thousand years ago. So at this point in time, most people have forgotten what exists in the world outside of these cities. That said, all of the layers are slowly starting to separate, right? The realms are starting to sort of realign themselves as necessary. So things are getting a little bit safer, a little bit more tame in the wilds. And so because of that, we have a lot of different expeditions, whether it's treasure hunting, whether it's, you know, trying to rebuild cities or be, you know, or whatever. We're kind of in a phase where a lot of people are trying to work on rebuilding the world. So the campaign that we're working on takes place in this hex right here, and the gist of how we explain our players being there is what's happening is the city of Fosvik and the city of Mofafetting are working on creating a trade route that'll run directly between them. Because as it is right now, the only sort of safe roads that have been identified are to go all the way around all of the, you know, different cities in all of these areas and going down and around there, which is, oh, excuse me, obviously a lot of time to the excursion, and that's makes trade a little difficult, right? So they want to kind of create this trade route, and that's kind of how the campaign starts. Now we can go ahead and go to our region area here. So this is the regional map, right? And so our players have made it to this area right here, the forward base, right? That's kind of where things start. And this is the progress that's been made on identifying, mapping out that potential trade route. Now, unfortunately, this area over here, the Golden Wind Plains, these days is the territory of a dragon. And the dragon isn't too stoked about people encroaching upon his territory. So he flies down to the group and he says, "Oi, get out of here. My area, don't do it. Oh, Bill here. Why do I keep yawning? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I promise I'm not bored. Promise I'm not bored. You know what I think part of it is, actually? Give me like 20 seconds. I'm gonna run and just like grab a sweater. Sometimes if I get really cold and I am a little chilly right now, my body will start, like, I'll start getting sleepy because my body wants me to curl up under a blanket. So let me go like throw just on a sweater real quick to see if we can't use that as a way to stave off the yawning. I'll be back in like 10 seconds tops, I swear. I'll be right back. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you guys. got a nice big fluffy sweater on. I also went to the bathroom since I was up anyway, so now we got even longer before I have to make pity whistles again. So thank you for your patience. Like you like the way I've got the mountains and all of the lakes and streams placed? Yeah, thank you. I am really proud of this this particular map here. Really just the map in general. Like even my big map here. This is a world I've been working on for, at this point in time, it's kind of over a decade. All of the like when we think about just like the first things that I wrote that exist within this world, I've been slowly building this world for like a decade. So it's gone through a lot of iterations, and this is the one that this has been the longest lived one, because I'm just so content with this, and I really do like the way that this particular map is starting to sort of shape together. Because like the way I find it easiest to sort of make these maps, and this can kind of be, you know, take it or leave it, as far as tips for how one might, you know, anyone watching might want to organize and go about their own world building and map making. But what I find easiest is to put in some big landmarks, right? Throwing in the mountains here and the forest over here, and knowing that the plains are there. And then adding in the extra details as they become necessary. And I guess the way that what I mean is like, you know, I guess the lakes aren't necessarily, I kind of put them in there, but the concept of the lakes here is that, you know, we have a mountain range that, like, there will be melting snow caps and stuff that will result in little valleys and lakes that exist within the mountains and all that kind of stuff. But, like, adding in all of these cities and stuff like that, putting them in as necessary kind of helps a map start to look busy, but not too busy. I find it can be a little too easy to try and have things be, one, unnaturally uniform, if we try to map everything out from the beginning. And what I mean is, like, you know, we've got this big empty space here, and if I were trying to just like map out everything from the beginning, it would be real easy to kind of have things be a little strangely uniform. Whereas by only adding in cities and stuff as they're necessary and as I'm writing them, they get put in places that make sense for the story, which actually ends up making your map look a bit better and more realistic. Is sort of what I found. So like putting in the rivers and stuff like that, right? It makes sense that there would be rivers that kind of are in relative low points, just like with the lakes, relative low points on where snowmelt would go, right? And the other thing that I think about a lot is I try to think about realistically. So I placed a lot of the lakes first. And so then it's like, okay, where would it make sense for rivers to not necessarily go towards one of those lakes, right? So we've got this lake right here. So it would make sense for some of it to some of the water to fall down there. But when I think about my map on the whole, right? So if we're working in this area right here, there are going to be some lakes here. But when we think about our generalized elevations and the way this world would exist, we have, you know, this channel, and it connects to our larger ocean up there, right? But this is going to obviously be a relative low point in the world because it's a big, you know, it's a big giant thing that if we look at our scale, right, going across the hex is like 400 miles, right? So this is like almost 400 miles across. This is a substantial sea that we have going on right now, right? This is a substantial area, and so this is going to be a very low point compared to these mountains up here. So it makes sense that we would see rivers going from these mountains that might slowly make their way over towards this lake, right? And so that's kind of how we end up with those big rivers. And for this one right here, you know, it's easy. It would be kind of easy to think like, oh, maybe this means that the water's going over there. Not so, right? It's like on this side of the mountains, we have stuff going over here. It's the same area. It's kind of hot wired, so it looks a little strange. But that's kind of how I decided to place them. It's kind of based on reality. And the truth is, it would probably make sense for there to even be some rivers that flow from here, right? But at the same time, we put a big lake here. So it might be that the lake cuts off a lot of the mountainous rivers that would go right, you know, in this area, going down into that valley, and that's what feeds into that lake as opposed to feeding into our ocean right over there. Just like how this lake is kind of a relative low point that collects up from there. So that's kind of how I go about doing it. You know, and then we've got this area that has this network of lakes and stuff that kind of serve as like beaver dams and connections going between there, and rivers that will connect the sea to like these other areas, these lakes and swamp-like areas. But yeah, I just try to think about like, and I'm no geology major, and I'm sure there are some people, who study maps and study landmarks and geology to a point that they would look at mine and they'd be like, God, it's ridiculous that you would think that the water would flow that way. But for the sake of just like a game, I just try to use some basic generalized logic about how does water flow from higher elevation to lower elevation. What does that mean if we put our mountain range right there, right? Same with if we go over here and we've got this mountain range, it's like we've got some rivers that would flow up through there, some rivers that would flow over there, some rivers that would flow down through there. The only other potential would be like rivers that go through there. But if we have ourselves a relative valley of, some various lakes and lake systems and swamp systems, it makes sense for a lot of these middling areas to go from over there to there and make their way to this city through the sunken grasslands over here. The only exception might be it would make sense for some rivers and stuff to go through here, but because that's such a short range, it doesn't like this area doesn't strike me as an area that would have a particularly major river, right? And so it's like when we're looking at a worldwide idea, these are going to be about the really, really big primary rivers and stuff like that. So what about man-made rivers? Those would fall again under the concept of those would be smaller, shorter rivers intentionally made that wouldn't be noticeable on a worldwide map, the way I view it. They could absolutely exist there. But the other thing about it too is because much of this world has been abandoned by people for centuries, man-made rivers are, maybe not going to be as maintained these days and maybe have been reverted back to not being there and stuff like that. But you've got a good point. Man-made rivers could exist and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to just like a worldwide, a big giant overview, those aren't going to be quite as prominently placed on here. And instead, those are going to show up, on our regional maps and stuff like that. And in this particular regional map, there aren't really man-made rivers. So, but yeah, no, that's kind of how I go about placing them. But yeah, aesthetically speaking, I'm very pleased with how this map is turning out so far. Can you run a magic item? Go ahead and share it, but if it's going to be super detailed, you should put it in the Discord. It's a lot easier for me to give like detailed feedback in the Discord when I can sort of take my time to review it and stuff like that. So you're more than welcome to. But yeah, if you're wanting like feedback and stuff, I recommend putting it in the Discord. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a quick glancing first thought of it. So yeah, see, that's a lot of reading. I'll go through it real quick here. I'm able to teleport back to your hand for impact. Pain, mixed wisdom saving throw. Understand it didn't get hit. Fails DC gets higher with their DK. They become immune to effect. 6 psychic. Enemy feels piercing. It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting concept for sure. It sounds a lot like when you have like, I guess I know there exist the magical items that you can like summon. So it sounds kind of like it's an extension of that concept there. But no, it's an interesting idea. I like the concept. All right, so let's see here. So this is the region that we're working on, right? And so our basic campaign that we're working on is one in which we have our players are part of this forward base, right? And so they're part of this idea. They're part of this effort to create a new trade route that's going from the city up north to the city down south. And they get confronted by the dragon, who comes in and is all like, "Oi, this is my territory. I don't want you here anymore." And the players are gonna, the players with the help of some NPCs are gonna be like, "Oh, but we're just trying to build a trade route. Is there a deal that we can strike?" And then the dragon will be like, "All right, I'll tell you what. There's this Hall of Wisdom that I'm trying to get into. It's all locked up magically and stuff like that. It takes 4 keys to get to it. I don't have the time to find 4 keys because, I've got an entire domain to oversee. But if you guys can get me the keys so that I can get all of the stuff, all the goodies that are in the Hall of Wisdom over here, y'all can make your little trade out. That seems like a fair trade." And so that's kind of the basic concept of where it all begins. And our players, of course, being good players who are willing to accept the call to adventure, are going to go on a treasure hunt to find 4 keys. The first key, after doing some research, they'll find that the first key is hidden somewhere up among the mountaintops, among the different giant territories, right? So they go up into these areas, navigate through the giants, find the first key, and then come back, do a little bit more research, find that the second key exists within the abandoned dwarven city down here of Cogdoral. So they'll go down there, find that it's actually overrun with Duragar, have to deal with all of that, and get the second key. Then they'll come back, do a little bit more research, find that the next key is hidden in Ashra Nalor. The problem is there's not really a good way to get to Ashra Nalor right now. They'll either have to go back through giant territory, which is pretty dangerous, trailblaze their own way through the mountains, which is arguably even more dangerous than going through known giant territory. Or the third option is that back before the unhinging, there was this city over here, right down here, the city of Minadala, that had a series of teleportation circles, and it served as sort of like a travel waypoint between a lot of different cities within the larger region, including Ashra Nalor, meaning that there would be presumably a teleportation circle that could take them to Ashra Nalor. Now, the issue is that it's, the city's been abandoned for a couple thousand years, so is it still there? Who knows, but worst case scenario, travel down there, and then they can just kind of follow the river and use that as a way to get through. Or at least that's the argument that we're going to use to convince our players to go over to Minadala. And so this is kind of the part that we're at here, is the city of Minadala, because what'll happen is they'll get there, and they'll discover that there is a wizard who still lives there, and he's got his own complex backstory that they can kind of learn more about as they're going. But the wizard had previously, many, many years ago, destroyed the teleportation circle for the sake of, worrying about all kinds of creatures and stuff coming through it and attacking him. But he's willing to help the players because, they'll ask nicely and all that kind of stuff. So they'll so that's kind of where they're at. They're in Minadala working on trying to rebuild a teleportation circle. And hello there, Warlock Cute. Hey, thank you for following. I appreciate you being here. I'm glad you're having a good time. But yeah, so that's what they're doing. Share a map. Put it. You should join up with the Discord and you should share it there. It'll be a lot easier for me to look at it and give any sort of critiques and feedbacks if you put it in the Discord. It's hard to do it on stream, and if you just put it in the chat, it'll just kind of disappear. So yeah, if you want to get connected with the Discord, I'll verify you later on today, and you can share it there, and I'd be happy to take a look at it. But yeah, so this is what we're working on with our players right now, is the process of getting to our city of Ashra Nalor up here. Which requires a pit stop down here in Minadala. So that's what we've been working on. And so here's our little map of our city of Minadala here. This is more of a flavor map than anything else. It doesn't necessarily play a huge role, but it exists there for our players and their viewing pleasure. And we've been working on, most recently, we can close that, we're not using that. Most recently, we've been working on this specific map here. A sort of like dungeon map, so to speak, because so again, the players are basically the wizard that lives in the city is willing to help them, is willing to help them and make the what am I blanking on it? The teleportation circle, to rebuild that, but he needs resources that exist in this abandoned city, and for reasons of like him just being a little crazy and waffly about stuff, he says like, hey, you guys get the stuff for me and I'll make the teleportation circle. I got too much other stuff going on here. You guys go get the supplies and then I'll make that circle for you. And so our players have many different places within the city to go visit to get these items, including getting a couple things from this abandoned temple that they're in. And so we've been working on it, and there's like a couple potential visits for them to go here, because the wizard, true to irritating fetch quest fashion, we are designing this so that the warlock or the wizard will only give them stuff like instructions and stuff that he needs one at a time. So they have to keep revisiting the city, including visiting this temple multiple times. And so the first time they show up here, it's overrun with a bunch of giant like lizards and reptiles that have kind of made it their home. And so that's kind of how the first one goes. And so they go there, and what they need to do is they need to get holy water from this this baptismal fountain here, and it's magical holy water. Of course, it hasn't like gone putrid or anything like that. No matter how many years have passed. But I needed to check and see if I was hearing my my air kicking on. It's a little chilly today, hence the need for the sweater. But it occurred to me I also have the windows open because it's that time of year when it's really nice to have the windows open. But if it gets too chilly, it'll kick on the heat, and that's expensive, so I'd have to close the windows. But the heater is not on, so we're good to go. At any rate, the first time they visit here, it's kind of overrun with a bunch of giant lizards. And they have to get the stuff there, and then they will frustratingly be informed the next day or later on by the wizard that he also needs another, like an icon that should exist within this temple somewhere as well, so they'll have to go back. And the next time when they come back, it's going to be different, right? There's going to be, this back wall is going to have been knocked over by a giant shambling mound plant creature that is roaming around and is trying to brute force its way in. And so it's going to change the nature of it, because the first time when they come in, all of these doors are all locked up tight. And so they can still brute force their way through if they want to, but these are locked up tight. Whereas the second time they arrive, because this wall is going to be knocked out by those plant creatures, suddenly these rooms are going to be accessible if they so choose to go in there. And I think what's going to be kind of interesting about this is that it's not going to be necessary during either visit for them to make it in these rooms, but if they want to really search around and find all of the loot and stuff like that, these rooms are available to them. So that's kind of what we're working on here. And if I remember properly, we had gone through, and for the second visit, yeah, we had made the edits that we needed to make for the second visit. Main attic has been remodeled into functional space. Did we actually finish all of it now? I'm not so sure. Let's see. I need to look at the room numbers, because we're working on the process of, because the way I do it, if they're going to visit the place multiple times, but it's going to be a little different each time, just to save myself a lot of work, what I'll do is I'll describe the rooms as they are the first time, and then I'll copy and paste that and then change it as necessary for the second time that they visit. So like room 5 here. Oh wait, our cursor's already there. I bet you that means I ended at room 5 there. This room, find a dusty looking air chamber. Oh, that's right, we already had that one. That one didn't need any changes. That one didn't really need any changes, except for some of them will have needed changes also on whatever creatures are in there, because it's now plant creatures and extensions of the shambling mound that shows up rather than lizards like the first time. So room 6, we can just start at room 6 and just check. So let me just take having it be a bit easier to bounce between tabs or reorganize that. So room 6 is right here. That's the confessional room. That one's not going to change a whole lot. It's empty and there's just lore there, so that one can really stay the same. Oh wait, yeah, okay. Originally this room had monsters in it, but I'm pretty sure what this means is for the second visit. We can go up and check the first visit here. Room 6. Yeah, it was going to be an easy battle in room 6. In room 7, it's now in the second visit, room 6 is now empty. So we can just kind of clean this up a little bit here. Get rid of that. Otherwise, the room is the same. Yeah. I think that's perfect. Okay, I think that's good right there. Lore can stay the same because the room is otherwise unchanged. So that's good. This one is supposed to be an empty room now. It originally had a battle in it, as we can see, so we'll need to edit this one a little bit. Room 7, this is our entryway. Oh yeah, I remember this room. This is our entryway over here. Yeah, so we can say it. So we can get rid of this. There's no monsters in this one. Now an empty room. The empty having been designed as nothing more than a small entryway to the temple beyond. The room is warm and bright with sunlight that enters through the stained glass windows depicting tall, proud mountain peaks that are on every wall. Benches lie on either side of the room, and a few coat racks splintered with age stand in the corners. Very cozy and welcoming place. What we can do is, so this one, it would be a very cozy and welcoming place if it weren't for the 3 giant snakes lying on the ground. Now we can just say, it is a very warm, it is a very, we'll just say it is a very cozy and welcoming place. There we go. It is a very, because now there's not any monsters in it. So, you know, the thing that was stopping it from being that way, it is now irrelevant. Now it is. So there we go. Perfect. All right. I like it. That's nice and easy. And then so I always break it up so that there's basically 1 danger and 1 treasure. You know, 1 reward in every room. Well, in most every room. Some rooms don't have dangers and some rooms don't have treasure. But as a baseline, I do that. But like, since it's already been established, we don't really actually need to change it. It's going to be the same reward that it was beforehand. Okay, so now this one is one of the ones that's now unlocked, so that'll need some changes there. I'm gonna finish changing the ones that are there as needed first, and then we can create the new ones, just because I think that's conceptually a bit easier to sort of go through it that way. So this new one is going to have a medium battle, which is going to be worth now. Medium battles are worth 1550 experience points. So let me think here. We can make it just 16. We can do 2 assassin vines and 2 thorn slingers. Do that. I think that works. Yeah. All right, so we need 2 of the assassin vines. So we'll copy that and go down. And it was right here. 2 of the assassin vines, and then 2 of it was a thorn slinger. What I was gonna do. We already have thorn slingers somewhere. Shambling mound, assassin vine. Yeah, there we go. Thorn slingers. That, and then that goes right here. And we can just paste. Boom, there we go. And then that's going to end up being worth 1,600 total, which is 50 experience points above, but I feel like they could probably handle that. I think that's probably fine. So there we go. So that changes, and otherwise it's the same. I do need to see this, though. Constrictor snakes are obvious from the get-go. The Chikuli... Okay, we don't need to worry about that. We can get rid of that stuff because we don't have constrictor snakes or Jakuli anymore. That's how you see that your what appears to be an attic modeled by functional space. A few thousand years ago, this was done. Today, the ceiling has many holes through which their light can shine through. The light, though not expensive, is enough for you to see. Okay, so we need to change this. Enough for you to see that various vines and plants have filled this hallway, and that they seem to be swaying of their own accord, even though there is no breeze in here. Oh, there we go. So that kind of describes the sentient plants that they might face there. I'm not gonna put any sort of stealth options here because I think these things are just there, and you show up and you're in the middle of the room. There's not really a hiding space in the hallway here, so I think that's good just as it is. These will need to be sort of remathed out here. This one is going to be an easy battle. Again, we need to change the nature of, or change the enemies and how much stuff is there. So it's going to be 800 experience points. We could just do 8. Well, we already did one that's, I like to try to not repeat. We already did 8 thorn slingers there. The battle. Did I? Hold on a second. Let me see something. Battle. Okay, yeah. We're gonna have our 3 easy battles. Okay, so we already did If it's going to be 800 experience points, we already did 8 thorn slingers. We could just do 900 and do 2 awakened trees. I think that works just fine. I'm going to do that. Again, it doesn't, like, the experience points that I set out for and used for determining what kind of combat to put in there. I try to stick pretty close to them, but it's kind of a loose fit type of situation. You know, as needed. And I always lean towards giving them a little extra just to make sure that players level up appropriately. Because, like, this section of the campaign, right, this step is, I'm calling this, like, Chapter 6, right? And this is supposed to take them from level 6 to level 7, you know, at this point in time. So I want to make sure I'm putting enough experience points in there, and that's easier to do if we overshoot rather than undercut for the most part. Alright, so let's see here. So room 14. Just the stairs, you find yourself on a narrow walkway. Top of the bell tower. Alright, yep, okay. This is because this is gonna be in our this is going to be in this area right here. Right, because we just did 9, which was the hallway there. And this area here is a narrow walkway. So this is actually perfect. I actually like this. And say, there's find yourself a narrow walkway at the top. Starting, you can only see a single file along the catwalk here. It's unfortunate because there's, rather than a giant Gila monster sitting right on the walkway, you can say there are 2 trees sitting right on the walkway. And then what we can do is we can say they don't seem to move until you start to move towards them. And we'll say outdoors in a field, it's not too startling to see or hear leaves rustling in the wind. But indoors where there isn't any wind, the implications of moving trees are that you are about to fight some animated trees. Boom, there we go. There's our 2 awakened trees. And then again, the lore can stay the same. We don't need to change that. The trap can stay the same. That room's not going to fundamentally change. So the trap that exists there, it's the same. Now, what I think I wanted to do for this one, because we've got the trap, and I'm pretty sure our puzzle room is the same. Yeah, our trap and our puzzle rooms are the same. Trying to see. I'm trying to think here about how I organize this and what it all means. Our battles. Added an empty, a safe, and empty. Medium. Yeah, so I guess these ones we're going to just kind of keep them as empty here. I usually try to not have too many empty rooms within a single dungeon, but when we're making it a larger dungeon that's going to be visited multiple times, there are going to be a few extra empty rooms. And that's okay. So we did that, and so now I just got to consider my reward system, because I always make sure to give certain amounts of certain types of reward that range from lore to money to potions and the like. So, and I want to make sure I've got my proper distribution going. A lot of these are going to stay the same. We have our potions. Let me see here. Oh, it's machinery. They've got the lawn keeping crew at my complex out there. I may or may not have to pause depending on if the microphone is going to start picking up our machinery. I apologize if I have to handle that super quickly, but I think we should be good. At any rate, let's see here. So we've got 1, for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Go cat go. All right, so we got 1 money. We got lore. We put a lot of lore in there. We got empties. We got 2. Got our 2 monies. Good, those are accounted for. We have 1 potions. I think we might need 2. More potions. Oh no, we do still have 2 potions. So, okay, so I guess when I'm thinking about it, all of the rewards are going to stay the same for all of these. It's really just the dangers that are going to be different. So normally that would mean that we don't have to add any new rewards, but I want to make sure there are rewards in these other rooms that were previously inaccessible. Otherwise, what's the point of making them accessible, right? You want to make, them have unique challenges and unique rewards, so it's still worth the player's time to investigate. And I'm thinking we could just kind of wing it. Normally I would like randomly assign it and follow my own personal template and guide like I do for like everything. But I think I'm just gonna wing it for this one, just because I know we've already got our essentials met, so we can just kind of like describe these rooms and what they are. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. We can just kind of go through the trouble of describing exactly what they are. And then we can decide what kind of reward might exist in there, whether it's going to be money, whether it's going to be lore-based items, stuff like that. So let's just go ahead and dive into describing these rooms a little bit. This one's going to have, so room 8 is going to have an easy battle. 8 and 10 were the ones that were going to have battles. 8, 10, and 11, if we look at it right, so if we've got this wall going to be busted out, 8, 10, and 11, these ones are where the plant creatures would have been able to sort of like filter their way in. So that works. And so I'm thinking what I want to do, so we've got like the bunk room for the monks here. The monk room, bunk room. The monk bunk room. I'm gonna think about what would make sense for all these rooms to be. I feel like it would make sense for like this to be a study, right? Maybe one of these, maybe a couple of these are like meditation chambers or something like that. You know, it's like if we do like a conference room, a library, a meditation chamber, and then I don't know, just kind of like wing it with these ones. Like, geez, it's. So let's just do it 1 room at a time. 8, I think I was gonna have to be the conference room. Oh boy. So we'll say easy battle, which again is supposed to be somewhere around 800 XP. So we'll go ahead and just write down our 800 there. Might need to edit that just a smidge. Do that. And so if we're looking for around 800 to 900 experience points, we already did 8 Thorn Slingers and we did 1 Awakened Tree. We could just do an Assassin Vine and a Thorn Slinger. I think that's pretty easy right there. Let's do Assassin Vine. That'll be, we need that bulleted, please. These bad boys. And 1 Thorn Slinger. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. There's our enemies and such. Perfect. Alright. And so we can just go ahead and describe, let's see here. At some point in history, it seems as though this room would have served as a sort of conference room. A large table sits in the center of the room. I'll say, though the table legs don't inspire confidence much anymore. And a handful of chairs sit or lay scattered around. And just leave it at scattered around. The north wall has been busted out, and you can see a vine and we'll just say some other plant like creature milling about the room, having been brought here by their larger shambling mound overlord. I guess that's kind of a fair way to describe like a plant. Like if it's a sentient plant that I'm trying to have it be canon that like other creatures come from that one originally, I feel like calling it an overlord is fine. I feel like that makes sense. Oh, I'm still yawning. I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel bad whenever I start yawning and stuff on stream. It just, like, I swear I'm not bored. I'm not bored. I'm having fun. My body just sort of naturally cues into the concept of a siesta, which is funny because I never really grew up taking afternoon naps. But these days, my body's like, hey, you know what would be really nice at this exact moment? Yeah, going to sleep. That sounds real nice. And it's like, no, I want to stay up and keep working on things. I'm having fun right now. So, at any rate, okay, so if you ever wanted evidence that I perhaps maybe sort of go a little too far in terms of hydrating myself, been like 45 minutes and I kind of have to go to the bathroom again, so I'm gonna run and do that, and it'll be good. It's a chance for me to walk, stand up, take a few steps, get the blood flowing. Hopefully that'll help put the yawns back at bay, and I'll be right back. So I appreciate you guys' patience. Alright, I'm back. I'm back. You know what I keep thinking about? You know what would really help me right now? There's this type of snack. I discovered it last time I had to stop and, get a snack during a drive. I had to stop at a gas station and grab a snack. And, I think it was Hostess. They make these little packaged donuts. Right, that like they're kind of like the donuts. They're like a full-size donut, but it's a donut that's infused with caffeine. It was so awesome. It was so cool. And I've been thinking about that a lot the past hour. I need a caffeine donut. That's what I need in my life. Good fake joke opinion. Invest in a catheter, damn it. Yeah, seriously. No, I like the idea. I like the angle that we came up with once on stream. That what we can do is once, like, we can have like a stretch goal be that if I get, once one of these days, if I make affiliate, right, and I can start having subscriptions, one of the subscription benefits is that I'll put another camera up in the bathroom, not showing anything inappropriate, just like a camera that's up there right at eye level when I go to the bathroom. So that way we can make uncomfortable eye contact while I'm peeing. And that'll be one of the benefits of subscribing. That way you don't have to miss a single thing. There won't have to be any lulls in the stream. And that was the brilliant idea that we had, and I like that idea. I think that one's a great one. Personally, we can call it the potty cam. And like we'll have like rainbow text over top of it, like active text overlay that says potty time, and it's like all confetti and everything, and it's just me. Just awkward eye contact the whole time. I think it'd be great. I don't think it would ever get old. I think it'd be perfect. I think people would want me to drink even more instead of having more often. No, that's not true. There's like 5 people in the world that would want that, and I don't know that we should encourage it. So, that was my idea. I don't know. Like and subscribe and let me know what you think. But always to make everything a marketing. Everything is for marketing. All right. Anyway, let's get back to describing this room here a little bit. I feel like I kind of ASMR sounds. Oh my god. Again, very specific audience that's probably very passionate. It's probably very passionate about it. But I don't know that we want to encourage that very specific, very passionate crew. Maybe the next day ASMR start. I already know exactly what to do for the ASMR. We discussed that one beforehand. The trick is to just get like really uncomfortably close to the microphone, as if you're going to just like swallow the thing, and just start making awkward conversations about things. You need to speak in a very breathy tone, because people like it when it's imitating as though someone's hot Cheeto breath is on the nape of their neck. So going, and if you really want to be a professional about it, you can like pretend it's a haircut, because apparently people think the sounds of getting a haircut are reassuring. There, I just cut off one of your ears. And there goes the other ear. And then you can sit there and just imagine the sounds of someone chopping off all of your hair in a very dysfunctional way, without the pain of losing any skin because someone untrained is cutting your hair. That's ASMR. Cut your own hair. There you go. Exactly. I used to cut my own hair. And then now I've got a friend from high school who has her own studio, and as a way to support one of my old friends, as well as because like some people are really good at cutting their own hair. I was extremely mediocre at cutting my own hair. And so as a way to make myself look a little less homeless, and to support a friend, I now go to her to have my hair done. It's been entirely too long. I'm thinking about growing my hair out long again. I used to have it. There was a period in my life where I had it really long. My parents hated it. It was great fun. And it's been a few years, and I'm not in a position where I'm going to be like going to any interviews or anything. So I'm thinking about growing my hair long again. Or at least I hope I'm not going to any interviews. I guess depending on how things go and depending on how my bosses feel, that can, that one can kind of catch you off guard, and it can change at a moment's notice. But as of right now, I have no indication that I'll need to go to an interview anytime soon. Because the trick is, when you have long hair, that can be perfectly fine and perfectly professional, right? Because you just like tie it back and, do what you need to do to keep it out of your face and everything. The hard part is going from short hair too long hair, because there's this phase that everyone reaches where, like, on your way too long hair, where you just look like you have, like, the 60s Beatles bowl cut going on there. And there's just not really a way to make that look professional. You pretty much just always look like a starving artist trying to lock down your first record deal. And that's just, you know, there's just that phase. That in-between phase is hard. Like, the only way for it to look good is for you to just naturally have hair that flows and looks good at that length. And if you're not one of those lucky ones, and it's like, it's too long to look tidy, but too short to tie it back and style it right. So you're just kind of stuck looking like an awkward teenager who throws a fit every time your parents try to make you get a haircut. And you're just like, you're a really stubborn type of teenager that's like, no, I don't wanna. I was that kind of teenager. I absolutely had the awkward bowl cut as a teenager because I was a surly, ornery emo type. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, you know, makes you kind of difficult to deal with. I'm willing to admit it. I'm willing to recognize that I was a handful as a teenager. But that's the details of that are different stories for a different day. Hold on. Okay. All right. Sorry. They've got the lawn maintenance equipment going on outside, and my windows are open, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna ASMR a lawnmower at you guys. That would be perhaps a little too jarring, even for the ASMR scene. You know what ASMRs make me really uncomfortable? Sorry, I'm sticking with this topic for a little bit because I've got a lot of opinions on it. Okay, good. It's not going there. But you know what ASMRs make me uncomfortable? The ones of people eating. Some people are really into it, but that's one fetish that's just a little too much for me. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not the kind of guy, like, I know some people, like, get all, like, oh, if you're just, like, sitting at the dinner table, they get mad if someone crunches too loud or whatever. Yeah, I agree, eating ASMR is horrible. Like, I'm not the kind of person who, like, gets all, like, oh, you're eating chips, that's too noisy, but, like, I also don't want someone going right in my ear. Not a fan. I'm sorry. If you're into it, then that's great. You know, anyone out there who's into it, you do you. You do you. But I'm going to exercise my right to me do me and not subject myself to it. Some overacting eating sounds. That's funny. Yeah, see, I don't think it gets that bad for me. You know, and like the other thing too is it kind of depends on, maybe it depends on the nature of how it's being done, because, like, you know, there's the famous tomato scene in Lord of the Rings, but I think it works well because it really serves to show just how disgusting the one character has gotten, right, through just being a bad person. But no, it's fair. I respect it. Eating noises, it's not something that, like, actively creeps me out, but it's certainly not something that I'm going to go after and in search for. Like, I'm not, just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. But yeah, anyway, all this talk of food is making me hungry, which is bad news because I got a long ways to go until mealtime for me. It's one of the situations in which one meal a day, intermittent fasting, really rears its ugly head. Sometimes you just get hungry early and it's all like, ha, sucker, no snack for you, dummy. That's what you get for choosing this particular eating method. Mr. I need to always be on a diet or else I plump right back up. That's me. I'm describing myself. I'm having an easy time kind of maintaining my current weight these days. But it's mostly because I exercise twice a day. Not any other reason, so I don't know. Anyway, I should probably just get my mind off of food. Otherwise, it's going to be a long afternoon. We got a long ways to go. Anyways, okay, let me look at this again. At some point in history, it seems as though this room would have served as a sort of conference room. A large table sits in the center of the room. The table legs don't inspire confidence much anymore, and a handful of chairs sit or lay scattered around. wall has been busted out, and you can see a vine and some other plant-like creature. See I'm gonna say a sentient vine and some other plant-like creature milling about the room, having been brought in here by the larger shambling mound overlord. I want to add just a bit more description. I'm trying to be better about the one thing I talk a lot about, kind of a tangent but an on-topic one. I talk a lot about is the fact that for me, being a DM comes from the fact that I'm a world builder first. I got into world building as just a hobby long before I ever got into Dungeons and Dragons. And it's because I've always just been fascinated with the concept of being able to describe a world and describing it so well and so realistically that you can see yourself, just like kind of close your eyes and imagine yourself being in that world. And one of the things that's where my passion for DMing comes from, is world building, is creating a world for players. And one thing that I find has been happening to me a lot lately is I've been so caught up trying to mechanically build a game to make sure that I'm making a good game for my players that I'm forgetting to maintain the passion for the world building. And when I go back and read through some of the stuff that I've written in recent months, I find it lacking, or at least compared to what my personal standards are. So I'm trying to be better about slowing down my writing and accepting that it might take longer to write a full campaign, but that it's worth it for my own satisfaction, knowing that I'm creating a much more rich and meaningful and like sort of important world. Important's like not a great word because it implies that other people would find it important, but you know what I mean. Like the idea that everything, it's important. If it's important enough to describe at all, it's important enough to describe right and to really paint a picture with it. And so I'm trying to be better about that. So as I'm sitting here reading out loud what I wrote down, it just feels very basic, and there just doesn't seem to be much room being described here. So I want to slow down and just kind of do this, even though it may be inconsequential. I mean, I think it's easy to not to not feel compelled to put a ton of detail when writing stuff for D&D, because it is entirely possible that your players are not going to experience some of the things that you write at all. And if your satisfaction for creating a world, creating a campaign, running a game comes from your players interacting with the stuff that you create, then you're not going to want to invest a whole lot of time in some of these types of things, knowing that your players may miss it. But for me, my passion for it comes from the fact that I like creating the world regardless of if anyone else ever experiences it, right? Because I'm creating it for myself. I'm doing it for myself, and this is what I like doing. So that's something that I've been working really hard to try and remember for myself, because I feel like the more detached I get from that mindset, the less I like what I've written. And that's something that is pretty consistently true, you know, when I look back on all the various things that I've written. So with that in mind, let me reanalyze this. At some point in history, it seems as though this room would have served as a sort of conference room. As a conference room. Large table sits in the center of this here's where we can add some details of this wood floor room, and a handful of chairs sit or lay scattered around. Some moth-eaten, need a hyphen that one. The moth-eaten tapestries hang on the stone walls, and the stone walls, faded and unfamiliar to unfamiliar to a modern viewer. The air is humid as though it has been locked and untouched for centuries. Which, here we go, which you remind yourself is probably true. There we go. The north wall has been busted out, and you can see a sentient vine and some other plant-like creature milling about the room, having been brought here by the larger shambling mound overlord. So I'm much happier with that. I'm immediately much happier with that. As I'm trying to, like, I don't necessarily try to always make sure every room accounts for every sense, right? How is every room going to have a taste? You know, you mentioned it if it's relevant. You could taste garlic in the air as you step into this well and into this bustling kitchen, right? It's like you can add taste describing a room. For the most part, it's not necessary. But I like this much better. I'm already much happier with the way this is described. Because it just, I want to be able to, a lot of times I don't even read these things out loud when I'm running a game too, just to be clear. I will, typically speaking, read this and then ad-lib something for players, depending on the mood and the atmosphere of what's happening and what, you know, what the crew's attitude about it all is, and what the players are, just kind of what kind of mood we're in. Like if we're in a particularly sarcastic, punky kind of mood, then I'll add something much more, you know, much more Rick from Rick and Morty. Yeah, you go into the room and there's a table, some chairs, and a bunch of monsters that are gonna try and kill you, right? Like, you know, if we're in that mood, I might describe it that way. But I like to add these details, one, to remind myself of what it was I was writing and envisioning when creating this, and two, as I always say, sometimes they're inevitably, if you're a DM for long enough, inevitably there will come days where your heart just isn't in it. Not because you're upset with the game or something. Maybe it's just that it was a long day at work. You know, maybe you're just really tired. A lot of different reasons. But when that happens, I hate feeling like I'm giving my players a subpar experience. So I like to write these descriptions out so that way I can at least just like read those to players. It might feel a little scripted to do it that way, but if I do that, at least then I've got something that I can provide my players as far as details go. So that's kind of what I'm working on with this, and I'm much happier with that description of the room there. I want to make sure that when I'm creating a world, it feels real, and that we could utilize only theater of the mind, and players could still get an idea of what a room looks and feels like. So we got that. Or as a reward, if this is just a conference room, I'm just gonna have this be empty. There's no reward in this room. It's just an empty room. And so we'll just do empty. We can just kind of like add a little bit of description. So if they choose to look, you can just say something like, as you attempt to ransack the room, you quickly realize there is nothing to take. It is all old, all old and broken furniture and very little else of interest. Boom, there we go. I'm like, I have a lot of passion. I do. It's just, it's something that I love doing. You know, I have a very active imagination. I always have. And for me, doing this is a way for me to share that imagination with others. And to me, that's just so much fun. It's so much fun doing that. Like, the reason that I love D&D, even though, like, for me, the passion really is about world building, the reason why I love D&D, and just tabletop RPGs in general, right? Like, it doesn't have to be D&D. It can be Starfinder, it can be Legend of the Five Rings, it can be Samurais, it can be Pirates, it can be Space, whatever it is. The reason that I love it is because there's two reasons. One, another thing I've always been kind of fascinated with is this kind of, it's a dead activity, it's a dead art. But there used to be times when people would sit around campfires and tell each other stories they made up. They might take turns working on the same story, right? It might be a group activity, right? But there used to be this thing that humans would do where they would tell each other stories, and we still do, but nowadays that takes the form of TV and movies. And for me, I love the feel of a D&D game where it's you and your friends sitting around telling each other a story. I think it's such an intimate setting that I think just doesn't exist in really many other places. You know, like, we don't just sit around and tell each other stories. We need to have it be in a game format, right? But at least when it's the game format, you know, we just roll some dice and then otherwise tell, you know, the story about what our hero is doing in this world and stuff like that. And so I love being able to do that. And that kind of blends into the other reason why I love DMing, which is like DMing and D&D, which is I love seeing my friends have a good time and knowing that I can create a world that feels real, that feels interesting, that feels exciting, that has drama, has action, has whatever it is they're looking for, that they can then interact with. Like, seeing them enjoy that is just one of the most fun things to me. I absolutely adore it. I absolutely adore seeing my friends, you know, get really excited about a battle, and like I'll describe a monster and then like have a very real emotional reaction of like, oh god, no, this thing is gonna kill us. Like, just seeing them get into it, right? And like seeing them have the triumph of having beaten a monster or solved a puzzle or saved, you know, a town or whatever. Just like seeing them get genuinely excited over just descriptions of that. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Because, like, you know, especially in today's day and age, it's so easy to just let the mundane be the only thing you feel as the day goes on, right? Like, how many of us just like live our days just, we wake up, we you know, shower, shave, go to work for 8 hours, come home, eat dinner, watch a little TV, go to sleep, do that 5 times until the weekend comes. Then the weekend comes, we catch up on chores, you know, take care of our familial duties as far as like going to visit friends and family and stuff like that, taking kids to soccer games and stuff like that. Like, how many of us just kind of fall into those patterns where it's just like we kind of run out of excitement? You know, it's like, and playing a D&D game, when you have like a weekly D&D game, being able to inject some fantasy into our lives, right? Like, that's such a valuable and important thing to us nowadays, right? You know, like, it helps break up that mundanity that we all feel every day. You know, like, it just, and it happens to everyone, right? We all have those days, those weeks, those months of our lives where we just kind of like, we fall into our routine and can't snap out of it and realize suddenly like, oh my gosh, time is passing and I haven't done a single exciting thing, you know, in months. And so it's like, if we can, for me, the writing is the exciting thing, being able to imagine these ideas and then add it on to that, being able to see my friends, you know, my players enjoy that stuff is just, it's so awesome to be able to do that, especially as an adult, when things like playtime are like, not only do we not make time for it, depending on what circle you're a part of, playtime is often like scoffed at, right? Like, it's seen as weird for you to do anything other than chores and work, depending on what circle you're in. And I just think that's the dumbest thing in the world. You know, I just think that's so dumb. So I really do have a lot of passion for this, because I think creativity is such a key component to being a human, right? And I think it's the type of thing that a lot of people, you know, lose or forget about over the years. And so the fact that I can not only have this hobby that keeps my creativity alive, but helps sort of, you know, stoke the flames of creativity for others, it's just really cool. It's really invaluable, and I'm so happy that I get to bring joy to my players with that. So happy that I, you know, live a life that gives me the opportunity to sit here and stream this type of stuff too, to hopefully inspire other people to want to create things and be that source of creativity for others. You know, because I think the world just needs more of it. I think there's this weird thing where we've forgotten that the whole point of technology and automation is supposed to be to free ourselves up for the creative sides of things, right? It's not meant to, you know, automation isn't meant to drag us down by meaning like, oh, I don't have a job anymore, therefore I don't get to eat. No, the whole point of automation is like, oh, look, these people don't have to work anymore. Like, congratulations, you're free now. You get to do all the fun stuff without having to do the work. Like, that's the point of it. But we forget that. We get so entrenched in this concept of a work week and everything that we forget to try and have, you know, entertainment and fun in our lives. Because if life isn't fun, if all we're doing is working towards the finish line, then it's like, Jesus, why don't we just all collectively drink the Kool-Aid together and call it quits? Because that sounds like a horrible thing. I mean, for crying out loud, even wild animals, look at bears. They still go out and enjoy the simple things like a good back scratch on a tree from time to time. Even a mindless fish is looking for some sort of enjoyment when they start swimming around and chasing each other in the fish tank. I mean, my God. We gotta have fun every now and then. It's like the least normal thing in the world to never have fun. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I don't know. I do have a lot of passion, but it's even beyond a passion for D&D. It's a passion for people just being happy and enjoying life. And so this is like a way for me to not only do that for myself, but to offer it as a springboard, as a starting point for other people in many different ways to do the same. And so, yeah, it means a lot to me, and I have a whole lot of fun with it, and I really enjoy doing it. And, you know, the more I get to do it with my life, the better. If I could do this like full time, if I could be a full-time DM who like sits here and writes stuff and then, you know, runs games for people, if I could pay the bills that way and do that, God damn, you better believe I would. I would work above and beyond. I would work 80 hours a week if I could do that. Like, God damn, that would be awesome. Tragically, it does not pay the bills. So, alas, alack and alas, we do what we can. Which for me, I'm very fortunate, is more than what a lot of people have time to do. So, I do not take that lightly, which is, again, plays into why I like to share, you know, the process and the results of doing it. So that way, at the very least, I can try and find some way to let my good fortune also turn into a good thing for others. Otherwise, it's just me hoarding my own time, and that doesn't really accomplish anything for anyone either, does it? So, anyway, TED Talk, bonus scenes, deleted scenes, done. Yeah, as you attempt to ransack the room, quickly realize there's nothing to take. It is all old and broken furniture and very little else of interest. I don't think we need a whole lot more to that one, because we've already got the good description up there. I think that covers it. That's good to go. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this as I go. Just so that way it's like I'm doing it while the room is fresh in my mind. So we can take this part here. I'm going to copy this. Oh. No, I guess I'm not going to, because what I was going to do is I was going to say we can copy that and put it up here and do the edits. But I actually kind of want to just leave this, because I already said see corresponding room description below. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine, because I know that these are going to be inaccessible. Well, not inaccessible, but like locked up and not easily accessible is the better way to describe it. So I think that's good. There's one other thing that I might want to add to my description. Let me take a look at our map. We're doing room 8. Yeah, so room 12. There's another door. I want to add that description there. Another door on the south wall of this room is unlocked and seems to lead into a library of sorts. Boom. There we go. We'll just add that little description there. It kind of helps it fold in, because in 12 I wanted to do that as the library. So we'll get there. But I like going in number order because I'm obsessive, and, you know, there are some things that just make me uncomfortable, which includes going out of order. And it's ridiculous. It's dumb. I shouldn't be uncomfortable with it, but it makes my skin crawl. So here we are. Here we are. Not like literally, my skin doesn't like start doing the heebie-jeebies, but you know, you understand what I'm saying. I'm using hyperbole to describe the fact that I prefer to do it this way. So there we go. I've properly defended myself against no one who, you know, which is exactly the number of people who were, you know, demanding an explanation out of me. I just like to get out. I just like to get out ahead of these controversies in case they show up. All right, room 10 here. What was I gonna do? We can have like room 10 be a prayer room. Jeez, I don't know what 11 and 13 it would be. I haven't thought about. Oh, I know exactly what I'm gonna do for 11 and 13. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. And we'll get there. We'll get there. Room 10 is gonna be a prayer room though. Yeah, I know exactly what I want to do with that. It'll be cool. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. Just you wait and see. Just you wait and see. Okay, so this one has a medium battle. Medium battle. Medium battle. Oh, they got the weed whackers going out there now. I can hear them. Okay, good. It's still not being picked up by the mic. Much more piercing noise, right? It's that high-pitched piercing noise rather than the low-pitched, like, rumble, the brrr of the lawnmower. It's like that of the thing going, of the weed whackers going. And now you guys get to enjoy it, even though you get the more annoying version of me imitating it rather than just having the good fortune to not hear it in the first place. Dick move on my part. My apologies. All right. Anyways, what did we do before? Didn't we do like 3 and 3 of the stuff? What was the medium battle that we already did? Oh, we did it. Don't hide from me, medium battle. I know we did it. There you are. Did 2 of the assassins and 2 of the thorn slingers. So I think what I want to do is I want to do 3 of the awakened trees, which bring us up to 1350, and then we'll do 2 of these guys, which will bring us up to our 1550. So 3 of the awakened trees. That's gonna be so tight though. That's gonna be so cramped. The awakened trees in that small room. I kind of need to go with the vines, don't I? Yeah, I guess I am gonna go with oh wait, hold on. What room did we already do the medium battle? It's room 9 we did. Oh yeah, see that one's. I painted myself into a corner on this one. I'm gonna do what I usually hate doing. I usually don't like recycling a battle, like the composition of a battle. I usually don't like recycling them like that, but I think I'm gonna do it just because it doesn't. Like I'm assuming that the awakened trees. I'm just for the sake of conceptual logic here, assuming that the awakened trees are more like awakened saplings, right? Little trees that aren't much taller than me, that just have a nice little skinny thing, and they just kind of give you like whip scratches from tree branches across your face and all that kind of stuff. But even then, that small room with 3 trees in it, that would be a little much. Although the wall is going to be busted out of that one too. Kind of almost set it up so that it's like the trees are just inside the room, or at least one of them is. Oh, I don't know. We just give them 15 of the thorn slingers. It'd be kind of funny. Like just like a room 15. Is there even actually 15 squares? I actually don't even think that would fit in there. Huh. There's exactly 15. We could, yeah, they would just open it up and it would just be all thorn slingers. Which actually would be kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it. I'm kind of amused by that idea. I get very amused by things that would really screw with my players a lot. That's the flip side of it. Well, I genuinely meant it when I said I'd love seeing my players have fun. I also love watching them suffer and squirm when they're faced with challenges and they're worried about stuff. I love watching that too. It's the whole package. The whole package is fun. It's just fun. I know it sounds adversarial, and maybe it is a little bit, but damn it, I get to have fun too as a DM, and it's funny to me to watch them struggle sometimes. I'm not a sociopath. I'm just a bro. Bros like watching their bros struggle from time to time. It's why we pull pranks on each other and mess with each other. Oh shoot, yeah. I guess actually this one, if I'm describing this as an attic and like with the peaked roof, it would make more sense for there to be trees here. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch this up a little bit here. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this one. Various vines and plants have filled this hallway. That they seem to be swaying of their own accord. Okay, perfect. So that description is general enough about plants. So I'm gonna copy this, and we are going to, yeah, we are going to go ahead and transpose that down here. Yeah, we'll do that one. Oopsie. Boom. So we'll do that, and then what we can do for this one is we're going to do, it was going to be, let's see here, hold on, 14, 9, 1350, 14, 1550. Yeah, we want to make this one 1550. 1550. Oh, there goes the lawnmower. Now it's getting real close. Oh, it's totally picking it up. Alright, I'm sorry. I got a lot. Hold on. Let me shut down let me close the window right here real quick. There. That got real loud. When they got right by the window there, got real loud. That's saying something too about that machine, because I'm on the 3rd floor. It's not like I'm on the 1st floor. Like I'm a little ways up here. But at any rate. So yeah, we'll do this, and then we were gonna do it was gonna be 3 of the awakened trees. Awaken my tree. Shambling Mount, Thorns thing. Not have awakened trees anywhere in here. Oh, here we go. Copy that. Ba-boo, 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 and that's gonna go right there. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's just gonna be a bit easier, and that way I don't have to go back on, because I hate reusing the same battle within a dungeon, like the same breakdown, because it's like half of the challenge of battles is trying to figure out how to prioritize different enemies. And so, oh, are we doing that one thing? How does it just does this weird thing where it, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, I'll stop talking because no one else probably noticed or cares. But yeah, I like to make sure that that each battle's a little different, right? Because like, if all of them are the same composition of the same enemies, you kind of can figure out the rhythm, and it's way easier. Whereas if you at least mix up how many of which enemy are in each room, it can sort of have an effect on usually how players arrange themselves and how they prioritize handling this, that, or the other monster and stuff like that. It just makes more sense to do it that way. I find anyway. So yeah, so that's good. So describing this room, I wanted this one to be a prayer room. So we'll say, for the wall, for the north wall was busted out, you get the sense that this would have been a very tidy and comfortable room to be in. Various cushions lay scattered around with many different tables with candles placed about. Think here. The walls are curtained the entire way around, muffling any excess noise and giving the room a tranquil atmosphere. Even in its largely destroyed state, there is a sense of peace within the room. You get the sense that this must have once been a room for prayer and meditation. Oh, there we go. And I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. Actually, I want to add one more thing. A large rug covers the majority of the wooden floor, muffling any excess noise and giving the room a tranquil atmosphere. Even in its largely destroyed state, that there's a sense of peace within the room. Get the sense that this must have once been a room for prayer and meditation. Boom, that's perfect. And then again, I think this one's going to be an empty room. I don't think there needs to be any rewards in here. Kind of come down here and we can just do the... There are no valuables to be found in here. This room was designed for prayer, not for storing money or goods. Money. No, money, sorry. Go. Yeah, simple as that. It's a prayer room. Not a whole lot to steal. I mean, you could steal the cushions if you want to, but they're pretty moth-eaten. You know, real stiff. Like, you know how when you go to, like, you know, the cottage, like your uncle's cottage, that they only open up for the summer, but they, like, leave all the linens and stuff there, so you get up there and everything's, like, super scratchy, even though they've only had the cottage for 5 years, and it's because they don't actually take care of the stuff, and it just kind of sits there exposed. Yeah, it's kind of got that feel to it going on. So, good. Okay, I like that room. I'm content with that room. I think that's a good one. All right. Golly, yeah, and it's almost embarrassing. I don't know what's going on. My system's flushing out fluids real fast, but I gotta go to the bathroom again. I do work very hard to stay very hydrated, because I do a lot of fitness, and so if my body is very hydrated throughout the day, makes it a lot easier to have the body water to carry me through any given workout. You know, my afternoon workouts when the time comes, makes it a lot easier for me to be hydrated without having to drink a ton of water and feel it sloshing around in my belly. Because I'll tell you what, when I'm doing a workout and I can feel water sloshing around, almost like pulling me in directions because of the momentum, oh, that is the worst feeling. Makes me nauseous. I hate it. So when I'm not working out, I drink a whole lot to make sure every available sponge pore in my body is filled to the brim, so that way when workout time comes, I got enough to just like carry me through it. So all that to say, I have to go potty again, so I'm gonna go do that and I'll be right back. I appreciate your patience. Alrighty, I'm back. I'm gonna do my very best to finish off the stream without having to go to the bathroom again. We got 1 hour. One would think that I should be able to make it an hour. One would think. Famous last words. Alright, let's see here. Okay, so we got that room. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know what? We can get rid of this. It's not locked anymore. Oh, and there's one other thing that I need to add for this one. Let's see here. And we're just going to say right here. I need to describe a couple more things. On the south wall, see another door that sits slightly ajar. Yeah, there we go. Slightly ajar, as opposed to a can or a basket. Classic joke. No one's ever said it before. It's a real original content right there. Alright, on the south wall, you see another door that's slightly ajar. Won't add any other descriptions. And we'll say, yeah, we'll just say, we'll say sitting in the room, near the busted out north wall, a few plants that seem to be alive. Boom, there we go. We can just do that. We don't need to do anything else. And then no valuables to be found in here. That's perfect. I think that's great. Excellent. Okay, hard battle. Hard battle McCormick here. Hard battle. Hard battle is going to have 2,350 experience points. Excuse me. Yawning. Do three. 3 of those brings us up to 21, 22, 23, 24. So we could do 3 and 3. 3 of the assassin vines and 3 of the thorn slingers. That would work. We could do 2 assassin vines and 2 awakened trees. I don't know. I like the vine and the thorn slinger combo better. Just because, same as kind of what I was hemming and hawing with before, with the size of the trees and the size of the room. So I like the idea of having these smaller ones. So we'll do 3 and 3. I think that'll work. So 3 of the assassin vines. Let's see here. Let's get some stuff taken care of here. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. 3 of the assassin vines. And then 3 of the thorn slinger. Alright. Perfect. Yeah. That's good. So yeah, hold on, I gotta remember which room's which here. Yeah, 11 and 13, I know what I'm gonna do. Need to just quickly 2400 XP. There we go. This room contains. Oh, this room untains. Room contains 2 sets of bunk beds. 4 beds total. Along with a few basic housing items, such as wardrobes, desks, and the like. Trying to describe. So what my thought is for these rooms, for rooms 11 and 13. My thought is basically that these rooms would be like boarding house rooms. So the homeless who needed a place to stay or something like that would be welcome to come live in these places. And so I'm trying to describe how that it would be clear that that's what these rooms are for. Okay, wait, I think I have an idea. It feels cozy, if a little impersonal, with the lack of flavor. Oh my goodness gracious. Flavor given to the furniture. Trying to think about how this room kind of would be described. I've got an idea of what it looks like, but to convey it is so tough sometimes. It's bunk beds, 4 beds total, along with a few basic housing items such as wardrobes, desks, and the like. Feels cozy, if a little impersonal, with a lack of flavor given to the furniture. I know exactly how we're gonna do this. I know how we're gonna do this. This is lore here. You will say you can look through the wardrobes, but find very little of value in them. One has a few sets of tattered clothes, and the other has some very raggedy gloves on the bottom, tucked in a corner. Boom. So just try to describe the concept of, you know, people coming and going and accidentally leaving stuff behind, or when the unhinging happened, just kind of like evacuating in a hurry. But really, I'm just trying to describe like a room that like looks like people lived in it, but not wealthy people, because it's what it is, right? It's kind of meant to be almost like a homeless shelter. And so here's the idea that I have. Or, we'll say I'm gonna put just a little DM note here. Say DC 12 to notice the plaque nailed on the door. Boom. So it's like if they want to search around for it, they can find it. But I try to not give too much away for free, right? Like, and not just because I don't want it to be too easy for players, but also because a lot of times players derive a sense of satisfaction and enjoyment from having thought of the idea to look for information and then having had a good roll. So if every time they walk into a room, I'm like, oh yeah, and you find this and you find this, and they never get a chance to search for it, they're not going to feel very encouraged to bother searching and describing what their character does. Whereas if you make it so that, excuse me, oh, the yawns are back. But if you make it so that you're just handing them the information and you don't give them anything, what'll happen is they'll start searching anyway to see if there's anything more. They'll have to say no, and it'll discourage them from actually searching and thinking about these things. So it's better to just put like a simple, pretty easy to achieve DC check for finding things or noticing things about the room, and then offering it to them, just because that like sort of adds that subtle training for the players that like, hey, you should be the ones thinking about these things and what your character would do, and blah 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 blah. So that's kind of where my philosophy on that comes in, and that's why I like to do these things. This way I find it just makes it a bit more of an engaging thing for players. We'll say the door to the prayer room to the north is a plaque. We'll say is a stone. Oh no. I guess I don't want to use the word plaque. Let's say to notice the, no, I guess it has to be plaque, because when I think about it being 1,000 years or whatever, most paper things would be reasonably disintegrated, which, like, certainly I kind of hand waved my way around that and still like giving them parchment and stuff for things. But even better if you can find something that's a bit more durable when we're talking about thousands of years. So we'll say is a small stone slab with a few things written on it. They seem to be rules. Seem to be rules describing. Oh my goodness gracious! Apparently my C button doesn't work right now. Describing how the day is structured in the temple, as well as what is expected of tenants. Tenants that no, probably only one N, right? Yeah, it was the extra N that was the problem. And expected this is easier to do it that way. Okay, three rules describing how the day is structured in the temple, as well as what is expected of tenants. Yeah. I'm reading the list of rules. You are able to gather that this must have served a sort of boarding house for those. For the unfortunate homeless people of the former city. Boom, there we go. Alright, that works. I'm content with that. I shall accept this. Huzzah! That's good. I like that. Add a little bit of description to so that the players can kind of understand exactly what's going on here. So this one was going to be the library, right? Do I have that correct in my head? Correctamundos. It's going to be the library. Library. Alright, anyway. Cool. Okay. So this one we're just going to say empty. We're going to do empty. Oh, I already kind of did that. All right. And then empty. And then the reward I'm going to put, again, lore in there. We'll put lore in there. I don't know who lore is, but they're going in. Nailed it. Yeah, okay. So walk into this room and immediately smell the smell the books and leather bindings that fill this. Let's see. You walk into this room, immediately smell the books that fill. Now, and leather. Yeah, bindings. Okay. Leather. Let's see. You walk into this room and immediately smell the books and leather bindings. Looking around, you can see that every inch of wall is covered with bookshelves, and filled with various tomes. Most of the books pertain to the religion of the church. I'm trying to think about, I kind of want to turn this library into a bit of a tie-in with the lore here, so I'm trying to figure out what exactly the angle is going to be. I guess this doesn't really impact the description a whole lot. Most of the books pertain to the religion of the church, but a few branch out from those safe topics. Even in medieval times, no one wanted to talk politics or religion. Bad manners at the dinner table right there. Telling you, it's timeless, ageless concept. But a few branch out from those safe topics. And then I guess I don't know that this does need a whole lot more than that. A few overstuffed chairs are in the room as well, though they look as though any padding has long since failed. Boom, there we go. Root of all beers. How much should a port city have in 1 gallon ales? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me. You've got a strong theme going on with name and joke setup all together, and I do appreciate that, but I want to know the punchline. You tell me. All right. Padding has long since failed. Yeah, I know, and I know what I want to do. And then we'll do for the lore here. So, oops. I'm gonna do DC 14. To notice that there is not a punchline making a DM tool. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, it sounded like the setup to a joke, right? How much should a port city have in 1 gallon ales? Like, I don't know, a pint? Making a DM tool. I mean, I guess it depends on how critical it's going to be to the storyline. I feel like for me, that's the type of detail that I'm probably not going to fixate on. But like, you know, if you're setting up a mission where players are going to be delivering a certain amount, having 1 gallon ales, I mean, you're talking about the whole city and 1 gallon. I mean, just think about your local grocery store, supermarket, and think about how many gallons of alcohol they have in just one store, and then multiply that by how many stores they're gonna have in town. I mean, granted, it wouldn't be much, or at least as much as modern day times, maybe, just because population levels are way down. But like, assume that a store, because like a one gallon, that's like a jug of milk, right? So if you just think about just pure alcohol, if you think about pure alcohol, it'll be, it's gonna be, like, I mean, I gotta imagine like a case of beer has 2 gallons in general. So how many cases of beer would a store have? Probably a couple hundred, right? We're looking at, like, assume at least 500 gallons in a single shop, and assume you have like 5 or 10 shops that have that, then you're talking thousands and thousands of gallons. I don't know. In Twitch Whispers, I'll check it at the end of the stream. You could also get yourself hooked up with my Discord. We do a lot of talking about stuff like that. So you know, I'll do it after stream. I don't want to get too hung up on it. But I mean, yeah, I think it just depends on what the purpose is that you're doing. I don't know that that's the type of thing that you need to have a specific number, because if we're just talking about what a party is doing, I mean, there's going to be enough for whatever they want to do. It's alcohol. It's one of the few things that they had to do back in medieval times. So yeah, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I that's not the type of detail I would worry too much. I wouldn't be inventorying every city or every shop within a city. But yeah, all right. So let's see here. So DC 14, to notice there is, I should need dice for me. So like I say, I'll take a look at it later on. When I get the chance to. Okay. So DC 14, to notice that there is one book on one of the shelves that seems to have been pulled out more frequently and recently than the rest. And we're gonna add some lore about our wizard who has been involved in doing like magical stuff all over the place within the city. We'll do a thing for him. We'll do just like a little bit of hint about what he might have been looking into. So we'll just say, and the rest. And then so we put that as the DM note, and then if they notice it, then we can give them this description. We'll say one book in particular catches your attention as it doesn't seem to have been properly put away. Closer examination shows that it is far less dusty than the rest, and as you hold it, you can feel that the spine is broken in a particular spot. The cover suggests that this book will discuss various immortal gods and goddesses, and when allowed to fall open, the book automatically, not automatically, that's kind of, the book naturally falls open to a well-worn page that discusses, the book naturally falls open to a well-worn page that discusses how do I want to phrase this? Discusses some of the first magics used to prolong life. Though it doesn't give specific, there you go. So it doesn't give specific spells or procedures. It makes it very clear that extending life is a very possible thing. Boom. So there we go. I mean, like, that's not super surprising or unheard of, I think, for any sort of fantasy setting. The fact that, you know, life could be extended, but like, this gives us a clue, or rather it gives our players a clue about that, so they can maybe start to understand a little bit about their wizard friend who has been using such magics to keep himself alive for centuries. So that just kind of like, it's a non-essential thing. They won't need it to be able to proceed onward, but it kind of gives them a, you know, it gives them the opportunity to learn a little bit more, that if they want to better understand and pursue what's going on with this wizard, you know, there's a bit of a hint if they go searching for it. So yeah, I think that's good. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's good. And that's really good, just as it is. And so that means we've only got one other room to describe here, which is great. And then we can just kind of go about finishing decorating this area. So room 13, this was going to be, I wanted this one to be like another bunk room for you know, like the homeless shelter type of thing that they're doing here. So 13, we can describe it. We can kind of save ourselves a bit of effort by describing it largely the same here as here. So we'll do room 13. Yeah, empty, that's fine. And then the reward here. I'm gonna, this one, lore. 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 I'm gonna, Okay, so now here's where it gets kind of tricky. Because I do. Hold on. Oh, there's one thing that I need to describe here. Filling what little open space is in this room are multiple wandering plant creatures that seem to have made themselves at home here. There we go. Because then for this one, what I want to do is don't need that anymore. You walk into a bunk room with we'll say 2 sets of bunked beds. Bumped. It needs to be an N. Boom. That's a bunked beds and matching furniture. The beds and wardrobes seem largely empty. We'll say except. Oops, there it is. Except. There we go. Except for one of the dresser drawers, which has a small canvas satchel in it. There we go, in it. Opening the satchel, you find only 13 gold. Whoever owned this little bag is not a wealthy person. Boom, there. Yeah, I guess, because like we could describe, so I could always describe and reference room 11, right? Because they're connected and they're similar. They're both meant to be just like bunkhouses for those in need. Oh, excuse me. But the reason I like to avoid that is because it inevitably means that one room will be dependent upon the description of another room. And if players end up going into those rooms in the wrong order, then suddenly I'll be reading and describing them something that they need more context to truly understand. So I'm hesitant to do that, even though it might beef it up a little bit. And actually, here's what we can do. In fact, one of the beds is half destroyed, with one end of the posts holding the top bunk up. In fact, I'm just gotta remember how I worded this. In fact, one of the beds is half destroyed, with one end of the posts holding the top bunk up. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I want to add something more. Destroyed with one of the bunk up. No, yeah, I guess we can just finish the sentence. It's good. It has one of the beds is half destroyed, with one end of the posts having, that's what I'm looking for there. Okay, sorry, that was a real brain fart right there. With the top bunk having collapsed, leaving it half elevated and half resting on the bed below. Luckily, this seems to have happened long after anyone would have been living here or sleeping in that bottom bunk. Boom, there we go. All right. And then this, actually what I'm going to do here, we're just going to say reward. We're going to say money. Even though it's like a paltry sum, we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll say money. Is underlined. Oops. That. There we go. There. I think that'll suffice. I'm not super enthusiastic about those rooms, but they are kind of filler rooms, which is another thing that I'm gonna work on. And I've actually been thinking a lot about the way I've been designing my dungeons and stuff, and I largely am still very content with the formulas and the systems that I use, but again, I feel like it's been getting very game heavy and not very world building heavy. So once we're done with this chapter, which we're getting pretty close to being finished with it, we've only got one more section after this one. And so once we're finished with this, I have some other ideas on how to sort of spice up the formulas that I use and to make it so that world building can really stay in the forefront. Because again, I feel like I've strayed a little bit from where my real passion for this hobby and this game have come from. Which isn't inherently a problem. People grow and change, and ideas and passions change as well. But in this situation, when I when I sit and think about D&D, what gets me excited is world building, not game building, if that makes sense. Like, it's a subtle distinction, but I think it's an important one. At least it is for me. So I've got some ideas to try and make things a little less stale in how I design these things. But we'll have to do that next time, because one thing that I work really hard on doing is, even though my style will change, my approaches to things will change, the mechanics that I use may change, I try to not go back and just constantly rewrite stuff that I've already written. Because if I do that, I'll almost never make progress. Because by the time I'm done updating one page of this, like, easily 100 pages campaign that I'm working on so far, I'll never be able to make forward progress, because I'll just be constantly editing the stuff that I've already written, and that just isn't a sustainable way to make progress. So I'm not going to worry about it too much for this, but yeah, I've got some different ideas that I'm excited to kind of go after. But with that in mind, let's pull out our map here. Let's go ahead and finish decorating these couple rooms here. So we've got a conference room, a study, a prayer room, and 2 bedrooms here. This should be pretty quick and easy for us to finish this little bit up here. But I do want to... Hold on, there's one thing I'm in, which is that I'd never put in porches into this hallway. Just ridiculous. So, and what I'm going to do with this too is, so like, here's where the map making here is going to be a little complicated. Because I'm using this map, I need to make a copy of it and make a few edits to it. So that way I can use this map, this base map that we're working on, for both instances of visiting this temple, right? Because remember, the second time when they show up, that's when this back wall is punched out, and so I'll need to make some edits there. What I want to do is I want to finish decorating this as though we don't need to do that. As though, like, I'm going to basically just design this to be... Well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, we're going to design this one as if... Because this is basically our first iteration, right? So I'm going to fill these rooms in, even though they're behind locked doors, and then we'll make a copy of it, because then I can edit out this wall and change these rooms and some of the other rooms as need be, is sort of the idea that I'm going for here. That's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say and doing a very poor job of actively saying it. All right, let's see here. We need to go to a table here. Use this big one. We need to put that under our chandelier. Do just like this. That'll make a nice big, like, conference table. And then we can go with chair. And so we can do a couple chairs that are sort of in place there. That one's kind of shoved off to the side. There, and maybe one right there. And then we can just broken chair. Right, do broken chairs like that. Maybe a tipped over chair like right there. Tipped over stool. There we go. There's the conference room, and honestly, that one's kind of done. Don't need to do a whole lot else for that one. We need a bookshelves going on here. And the trick is we need to fill these bookshelves without messing with our doors. But windows, I don't worry too much about. I mean, it like obviously there's a limited amount of like, you know, whether it would make sense for there to be a bookshelf right in front of the window, but it doesn't mechanically. It doesn't mess with things too much. And so we can just kind of put it there and just know that like, oh yeah, it probably wouldn't actually be in front of the window, but who cares? And then if we just want to fill that one in. So there we go. So there's our study. And you can put one more like right there. There's our study. That's perfect. And then I just want to put a couple chairs here. Chair again. Just do a couple of these like overstuffed, busted up chairs, right? Boom. Boom. But that one's still largely intact right there. And maybe another intact one, but we'll put it like right there. There, so some chairs for our study. Simple as that. Doesn't need a whole lot else going on there. Our prayer room. Let me just do cushion. Okay. Let's try pillow. Yeah, these are all pillows. Golden pile. So yeah, for our meditation area, I'm just gonna put down a whole bunch of little pillows and stuff. There we go. Meditation room again doesn't really need a whole lot else. Oh, we were gonna put candles. We're gonna put candles in there too. So we can kind of just like do a few different candle type of shrines, right? A couple candles around. Shoot, I don't like those placements. Do that, and then we'll do like one more. There we go. Prayer room, meditation room, whatever you want to call it. That's perfect. All right, and then this area here. So even though these are bunk beds, we're just gonna put like, boom, boom, like that. We'll do like one dresser here, one dresser there. And then I know there is a wardrobe. There we go. They're calling that a desk, but that looks a lot like a wardrobe to me, so I'm going to treat it like one. We'll put that right there. And then in this one, we can do like wardrobe there and there. Because then the beds can go there, there. And then we can grab like one of these dresser style desks. We can do that. Perfect. So now here's where we can kind of get the tricky part going on here. I want to do, so we're going to go to our layers tool. Level settings. Create a level. Well, we're going to call this one visit 2. And we want to clone visit 1. Here we are, visit 2. So now what we need to do is we need to go to wall tool. See, now here's where it's gonna, this is where it's gonna get kind of tricky, and I might have to get a little creative with it because I used the room tool to make this, and the room tool will not let me individually edit the walls. Right, well, I can edit the walls where it's all I made was the wall. But because this is a room tool, it has the floor tied to it. So changing the wall would change the floor because that's how the assets are tied together. It's a silly thing. And actually, I kind of am leaning towards not doing it as much anymore. even though I like the flooring and the options that they have in the room tool, because it makes it frustrating to edit. But what we can do is we can put in a whole bunch of gaps, right? A bunch of just archways, so to speak, which then will have the effect of emptying out a lot of these walls. And then what we can do is we can go over into our object tool, and then we can go in here, and there should have one that's like destruction. There we go. And so we can take that, and we can take some of these. So let's go ahead and unsnap now, because I'll make it a bit easier. Now we can kind of do this, and that'll help make sure, or rather that'll help it look like the wall was kind of busted up, right? And then we can take some of our smaller ones, and we can branch out our rubble and stuff a little bit here. Yeah, see, now it's easy to access. Players can walk right into one of these rooms and then go between any of those. And then we want to also do the same with down here. Again, we can kind of do the same thing. Our archway here, we go to building tool, portal tool, archway. Snap it to the grid, boom. There, I'll put one right there. That, and then maybe one more like right there. Again, go here, object tool, we got our destruction. Again, yeah, so now we can, let's unsnap. And actually, you know what, I want this to go over now. I'll have to do that beforehand, but we'll cover up the bathtub with lots of rubble and stuff like that's been kind of nixed. Oh wait, we need to go like that. Boom, boom, boom. Dungeon Draft. I've grown very fond of Dungeon Draft. Absolutely, I am with you there. I've grown quite fond of this program. It's and like what really helps sell it for me is the fact that I play with virtual tabletops. I play online with my buds, and this one just plays so nice with those virtual systems that it just really makes it a real treat to use with like the dynamic lighting and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of it. I'm gonna add some wood to this just to mix it up a little bit here and make it a bit more dynamic. There we go. But yeah, anyone wondering what map maker I recommend, there are plenty of other map makers out there that are just as good. Oops, no, we needed to do that, and I needed to come over here to add just some of the wood, rubble, and stuff. There we go. That looks good. That looks just fine right there. But yeah, there are plenty of other options as far as map making software goes. But I can vouch for Dungeon Draft, and I can say that it's a very solid program. I very much like it. It's a little clunky because it is in many ways still considered a beta program, but they are updating it very regularly. Lots of good assets. I'm a big fan of it. And I definitely endorse it for other people. And they ain't even paying me to say that. I'm just saying it because it's a good product. So there we go. But there we go. That's the second visit with that wall all busted out. It's a little mechanical. I may come back and edit that, but for now I'm actually pretty content with that. I guess I did want to put like a bit of rubble in front of these doors here to like kind of add the illusion that it might be harder to go into these spires there. But yeah, I think this looks good. Save all that crap before I get it gone. That's real good. I like that. I'm pleased with that. I'm really pleased with that. And so, and now with that all taken care of, I'm looking at the time, and it's like 15 minutes before I would normally, and so it's a little early, but that's such a good that's just such a good way to cap off the stream right there, having finished this section. I'm really content with that, and I kind of want to just, you know, call it right there, because I don't want to get started in something and get 2 minutes into it and forget what I was working on next time and just basically have to start again. So I think I'm gonna call it there. Not to cut us off too soon, but I mean, it just, you know, if it's good, if the time is right, then just, you know, just go with it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna bring us over to just chatting here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my little sign off. I'm gonna do my little sign off. Yeah, that's good progress. It's really good progress. Thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I really appreciate everyone coming by. Lots of cool ideas and lots of idea sharing and stuff, which I really like. I wish it were easier to spend time on stream really analyzing people's ideas. But it's hard. It's hard because people will come in and they'll really want some detailed feedback, and I feel bad because I feel like I can't really give detailed feedback on stream because I'm trying to read quickly, trying to offer quicker responses for the sake of keeping the stream going forward, right? And so I feel bad. So hopefully people took me up on the suggestion to go join the Discord, where I can sort of, when I have more time, like this evening or whatever, I can really sit down and give it a good detailed look, because I love the ideas that people come up with. I think there are so many creative people, and I love seeing the ideas they come up with. But regardless of all of that, thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. This was a really good stream today. It felt really good getting back to doing some writing after not really having the chance to do much of it last week. And yeah, it's a good way to kick off the week. It's a really good way to kick off the week. So yeah, I mean, speaking of Discord and all that kind of stuff, if you want to stay connected, I do have my Discord. You can get yourself connected up with that. I do have my Twitter, Envira Streams. I put a lot of announcements about when I'm going live and stuff like that on there, so that's a good one to follow if you're looking for just notifications about when I go live. You know, if you don't like just getting the Twitch notifications or whatever. Everyone's got their own different system, so I try to cater to as many of them as I have the energy to keep up with. But we got that one. I also have my Instagram, Envira Streams. I do a lot of not stream related stuff with the Instagram. So sharing pictures of my cat, sharing pictures of my kickboxing and my rock climbing and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff goes there. So if that's of any interest to you, feel free to check me out there. And then of course I have my YouTube channel, Envira Boy, on YouTube, where I put all of the VODs. So if you ever are struggling to watch me live, but you still want to see some of the stuff I've written just to get some ideas and stuff like that, go check out the YouTube. It's there. It's all there. I put all my VODs there, free for everyone. It always just feels like such a shame to let it all disappear when Twitch doesn't hold it anymore, because it's all, you know, it's all fun stuff that I enjoyed my time with. So I don't, you know, it hurts me to just let it all disappear. But yeah, check out all those things to stay connected. Today's just Monday. So my usual streaming schedule throughout the weeks are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and that's in the Eastern time zone. Pretty typically these days we do Mondays and Thursdays as writing streams, and then Tuesdays and Fridays as gaming streams. I have just a little bit more left to do of Halo Infinite campaign, and after that we're done with all the Halo campaigns. That'll be tomorrow during gaming stream, and then we'll pick out something else. I got a couple ideas for games that I want to do. We'll see what I'm in the mood for once we finish that, but I am going to be so mad if we don't finish Halo Infinite tomorrow. But at any rate, that's when I'm live. As of right now, I should be around for all of my streams this week. But if that changes, I will be sure to offer up announcements on the various platforms that we talked about. Yeah, I think that's what I've got. I think that's what I've got for the day. So again, thank you so much to everyone who stopped by. I really appreciate all of you guys. I like I say, I have so much fun doing this, and it is really fun for me to be able to share the stuff that I create in the name of inspiring and helping other people sort of figure out what they want to do in their D&D games and all that kind of stuff. I have so much fun with it. I'm so glad that I am fortunate enough to have a life that I get to do this stuff. And, you know, the fun part about it is the audience people coming in and hanging out while I'm doing it. You know, you guys make it a whole lot of fun for me. So thank you, each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys. But that's all I got. That's all I got. So I'm going to go ahead and send you all on your way. Thank you a million times over. I appreciate you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. And yeah, I'll see you later this week. Until then, I'll catch you cats on the flip side.